The My Dumb Questions on Air show is brought to you by you, the viewer. We take no sponsorships and are completely supported by your cheers, donations, and subscriptions. Lastly, if you have an Amazon Prime account and you want to support the show for free, just tie your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account at twitch.amazon.com/prime and then come back here and subscribe. But enough about how we support the show. Why don't we just do the damn thing? My name is Danny. This is My Dumb Questions on Air for March 8th, 2018, and I'm joined by Shane. What's going on, Shane?
What's going on, everybody? This is Shane back again for another big episode. We had a gigantic one for you guys last Thursday, and tonight we hope to do it big once again. And with us is all the way from Tampa Bay, the man himself, Jinx.
What up, what up? This your boy Jinx, representing Free Your Rhyme, representing Guam Massive, representing Tampa, Florida. Happy to be here with y'all. You know what I mean?
Very nice. And thanks so much for joining us and taking the time out of your busy day. I saw your Instagram story today about your weekend and how it's going, and I am surprised you had time to hang out with us.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a crazy weekend. For those of y'all who are in Tampa or who follow me or anything like that, we know we have Gastro Music Fest coming up, so got a busy weekend. I'm one of the hosts, one of the MCs for that, so been preparing for that, and also I'm doing a little performance too on the side, so it's gonna be a crazy weekend.
Awesome.
Very nice, very nice. That was something I was going to bring up with you a little bit later into the show, so it's nice to see that we already have a little segue there. One of the things we wanted to say today is International Women's Day, so thank you very much to all of the very strong and important women in our lives. I know before we got on, we were talking about, maybe sharing a little story about those women in our lives that meant the world to us and how they influenced us. So I will start with our guest tonight, Jinx.
Yes, sir.
So who are the important women in your life?
Oh God. All right. So anybody that knows me knows that I have the utmost respect for women. It's ironic that we're talking about this right now because my mother's birthday was on Monday, the 5th of March. So, of course, my mother, I would say, is the most important woman in my life at this time. And, she's a person that raised me, the person that really gave me my personality. Anybody that knows my mother knows she's a goofball just like myself. I mean, she's very artistic, very poetic, you know what I'm saying? And very outgoing, at the same time, very shy sometimes. So, my mother is like a split image of me, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's pretty much the most important, most influential person, or woman, I should say.
It's a good choice and a safe choice too.
Exactly.
What about you, Danny? I know you have several very important women in your life.
I do, and I always say that the person I am today has been shaped solely by women in my life. They're the people that calm you down, that keep you from making the dumb decisions, help you and support you through the better decisions, and hopefully lead you down the right path. It can't say any of them in any particular order, but obviously my mother, who was an immigrant, brought me here for better opportunities, and therefore I succeeded, I think, in that aspect, or she succeeded in keeping me out of trouble and bringing me here, as well as my wonderful wife, who keeps me level-headed, and then most importantly to all, you never think that someone so small and so young could have such a big difference on you as a person, but obviously my 4-year-old daughter has made me a big softie. What about you, Shane?
What's funny is before we came on, I made it a point to call my mom just to touch base with her, and I told her it was a happy International Women's Day, and I don't think she even knew that was a thing that existed. But she was very appreciative, and really, I don't think as far as anything creative or doing this show or doing music or videos, anything that I did ever in my life, I don't think I would have kept up with it if it wasn't for her, because there were definitely times where she was like, listen, we don't have a lot of money, but that keyboard I think will help you. And she went and got me like a $100 and something MIDI keyboard for Christmas or something. It was the only thing I got, but it kind of helped push things on. Of course, my girlfriend, who's kind of been my backbone for the past 7 years. Just kind of keeping me in line and keeping me to go a little bit further on everything, because I have a bad habit of getting complacent. So she's always kind of been that driving force to keep me pushing a little bit more.
She listening right now?
Oh yeah, she's probably in there watching it on the wall. It's like we moved the projector into that room, and because I only have the one TV, so we got the projector, and so it's like sitting on a bar stool inside of the room, and just project has the Google Chromecast hooked up to it, so you just stream it to the wall.
Nice.
Well, Danny was talking about his mother was an immigrant from Venezuela. Jinx, you are Bahamian?
Bahamian. And a lot of people, yeah, my father's from the Bahamas, and my mother's from Jamaica. Okay. So I'm kind of a Caribbean mutt.
Nice. You could say. That's one of those things that it really only happens in like New York and Florida, right? Where you get people that are mixed up with like, my father's Jamaican, but my mother is like, Venezuelan or something. It's always like those weird mashups that you kind of only get in Florida. So Jamaican and Bahamian. Like, eventually my girl and I are going to have like a half Cuban, half Guyanese baby. So,
It's funny that you say that about Cubans, because my grandfather was actually Cuban. My grandfather was my grandfather was born in Cuba, and he moved to Jamaica when he was a baby. So
nice.
Crazy. Wow. I got all kind of stuff mixed up in me. Yeah.
There's actually a Jamaican neighborhood in Cuba. I don't want to say it's near Guantanamo. So it's like a Jamaican community, and they still speak patois over there and everything. So
I like to think that in the next like 5 to 10 years, when our kids get older or whatever, it won't be a rare conversation. You're not seeing a lot of, just I'm from Tennessee and this other person's from Kentucky as much anymore. We're having so many people come from different countries, whether it's grandparents and whatnot, that there's just a lot of genes in the gene pool. So hopefully it won't be as rare.
Exactly.
So we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about some current events, and then we are going to jump into the man of the hour, which is Jinx here. But to start it off, like I said, we have a ton of stuff, and we know we're still kind of reeling with what happened in Parkland. And since then, there's been a lot of other crazy things going on in schools here and abroad. When I mean abroad, like other parts not within Florida. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about was, this was, I believe, a week or two right after what happened in Parkland, and there was a teacher in Georgia who decided to lock his door and start firing his gun inside of his class. Now, the class was completely empty. There were no children there, but he still decided to start shooting his gun. So what I'll do is I'm going to read an excerpt from the CNN article, and then we'll chat about this a bit. So a North Georgia high school teacher was arrested on Wednesday after he barricaded himself in a classroom and fired a shot from his handgun out of a window. No one was injured in the incident at Dalton High School, except for a female student who injured an ankle running through the school. The shooting, about 85 miles north of Atlanta, heightened the already tense debate about guns in schools in the wake of the deadly mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. So, my question to you, gentlemen, and I'm going to swing this to you, Jinx, first. And I hate to kind of start it off on this note here. So one of the remedies to this situation for these shootings that have been happening since 1999 after Columbine, recently has been to arm teachers. Do you think what happened in Georgia is going to kind of put that thought to rest, or do you think that people will double down?
Man, that's a good question. Man, it's such a hard topic, man, because like for me, I know how I feel, I'm saying, about the situation, and when it comes to firearms and schools and things like that. I don't know. Time will tell. When these things happen, people tend to sway their opinion one way. Then time, goes on, and then people kind of forget about it, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So it's sad to say that I don't know if anything will ever happen. You know what I'm saying? Like either way. You know what I mean? Which is, again, sad to say, but again, I know how I feel about it. What my opinion on it is.
Feel free to spill it out, man. It's all good.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the funny thing. I say I know what my opinion is, but honestly, I don't. I'm so double-sided in this whole topic, man. Like, again, I'm a proponent for firearms to a certain degree, but I also feel like certain firearms are not necessary, but that's just my opinion.
That's reasonable.
I mean, right, exactly. And, you know, when I was coming up in school, I do clearly remember people bringing firearms to school and how I felt and how safe I felt at that time. I always wish something was done to prevent stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, then again, I don't have all the answers, man. I couldn't even tell you. I just know I'm just mad I'm upset with the complacency in the whole issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're lucky right now, which is something that we haven't seen before, is these kids, the Parkland kids, who aren't going to let themselves get complacent because they have that youth and that energy. And you know, I don't know if you follow them on Twitter or whatever, but they're still going, man. They're still all about keeping the conversation going, because you're right. This is what usually happens is we start, you know, forgetting about it, you know, and then everybody gets complacent and then something else happens and then we get all up in arms. But directly on this, obviously this was going to make major headlines because, you know, the idea of arming teachers is already a shaky thing. And the first thing that news media and everybody's going to do is start looking at where this has failed. So I'm not surprised that, you know, so he just started shooting his gun in his classroom. Is that what happened?
Yeah, he just started shooting the gun in the classroom, and I don't know if it was out of frustration or whatever the case may be. I assume they're still trying to figure that part out, because anytime something like that happens, you kind of got to ask what the hell's going on there. Yeah, and that's what it is. So our friend Zufu, who I got to say before we get into this, Zufu. I was at a convention a couple of weeks ago, and there was a panel with the artist that created Thanos, Jim Starlin, and you were trying to message me to see if I could ask him questions, and I could not respond to you. And I went onto Twitch to try to find you and try to apologize for not getting back to you on that. So direct here. I'm sorry. The answer was yes, but I could never tell you that. But
real quick to the Tin Man, what's going on? You followed us while we were off the air. Thanks for the follow, my friend, and thanks for coming to hang out with us this evening.
Yeah. So to Zufu's point, he says, I think that things have gotten to a boiling point, and it's spilling over with the youth. My thoughts on this is that yes, and I think, for lack of a better way to say it, the kids in Parkland were. They were it's really hard to say. I want to say the right school for this to happen to, but that's not how I mean it. I mean that in the sense that this was, you're from South Florida, right, Jinx? Originally, you're from Miami, right?
Yeah.
So are you familiar with this part of Broward?
I know where it is. I can't say that I'm familiar with the school in particular, but okay. I am somewhat familiar with that area. Yeah.
Well, this is where my girlfriend is from. She's from Fort Lauderdale. So, and she's told me that this is a very highly educated, wealthy school system. And you can kind of tell with these kids that are there, all the interviews that they're having, the way that they carry themselves, the way that they're kind of ballsy. And one of the best comments I heard was from Trevor Noah from The Daily Show, and he was saying that. And again, it's sort of like saying this in not a bad way, but he's saying since a lot of these kids were kind of like spoiled kids, they don't know what it's like to be told no. So when you tell them nothing can happen when it comes to gun control, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, I can. And we're going to change it. So I thought that was kind of a beautiful way to put it. And, you know, it was terrible tragedy. It's terrible tragedy. It's terrible that it happened. And, but I am so proud of these kids in Broward for standing up and saying, nah, fuck you. That's bullshit. We're going to make change. And I think that they are the ones to make that change finally.
They have that fuel. Jinx, let me ask you, does this change how you write music? Does this like have any effect? Like, do you feel like you have to be more sensitive or less sensitive? Does it inspire you to speak on things that maybe you didn't speak on about before?
I wouldn't say it necessarily changes anything about my music. I think if anything, it enhances the things that I talk about, because if anybody knows Jinx, you know that I'm mainly a positive dude, and I talk about uplifting people and making positive changes in not only my life, but the life of the people around me and the life of the people that listen to my music. So if anything, again, it's not going to change it, but more so enhance it, if anything. So
it was interesting to hear, like, you know, how this affects all of us in our day-to-day lives, you know, whether it's how you work, whether it's, you know, how you speak on things. I know now not to doubt the fuel that is in these kids. They can go, man. They don't let stuff down.
You know what I've noticed since this happened, and Danny, I was texting with you over the weekend. I went to the theater to go see Annihilation. And while we were about a third of the way through the movie, an alarm goes off and it tells everyone to evacuate the theater. And I've been in situations over the years where this sort of thing has happened. But this was the first time where I never questioned it. I was just like, I'm up and I'm gone. And it was probably the first time I ever thought to myself, like, what if this is the time that I'm a part of this? Like when something like this happens. And as we were leaving, you could see it on other people's faces too. They're like, you don't fuck around about it anymore. Like, you hear that alarm go off, you got to walk out. So have either of you guys been in a situation recently where you can kind of get that same vibe from people?
Jason, I'll let you, if you got it. If not, I'll say, I don't think I've had that. And you know what, knowing me, like, I hope it'd be different, but usually I'm like, you know, it's always a false alarm, you know, like, I'm not gonna rush out of this thing or whatever, but I don't think I can do that anymore. Definitely not with a kid and a wife.
Yeah, like I said, for me, I was the same as you. I would always think it's something. It's not anything big, but this was the first time where I was like, I'm not going to play around with it, and I took off and I left. Like I said, we had situations back in high school where people were calling in bomb threats, and when that would happen, like, it's bullshit. But
well, Jason did say, you know, he was used to seeing that, and it made him feel unsafe in school himself.
Yeah, I think just growing up, especially in the environment or the you know, type of people I hung around, I think we just naturally just are always on watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think it's bad to say this, but I think culturally, Black people in this country were always on alert for those type of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether it's because of our own experiences or whether it's just experiences that we see on TV or we hear in music or whatever, like, we always have that alertness about us. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know.
That's a good point.
That's a great point. So we had the teacher that decided he was going to start shooting within his classroom. And we have some comments that we'll get to the chat in just a little bit. We're going to move on to this next subject and we'll come back around to that. But right here in our own state, actually in a county that is very familiar with Danny and I, a Florida teacher her name is Diana Volatich. She's either Russian by birth or Russian by ancestry. But she has been relieved of her duty as a teacher at the Crystal River High School because she was running a white nationalist podcast.
In her classroom.
What?
In her classroom.
What?
So, in a podcast from February 26, Volatich, only 25 years old, mind you, interviewed a guest who complained about diversity in schools and dismissed the idea that a kid from Nigeria and a kid from Sweden are supposed to learn exactly the same and have the same IQ. So this was something that came from her guest. Volatich agreed and argued that science has proven some races are more intelligent than others, and as far as what the website says. So this is the topic she was discussing and agreeing with on her podcast that she was running out of a classroom at Crystal River High School.
Man, I want to jump. We're gonna go right back into the story, but just to reply to the Tin Man's comment about having an alarm go off in a theater and helping other people. We didn't even talk about that. Like, it's getting to that stage where you're gonna have to start looking around and seeing, who's gonna need the help to get out of here. And Zufu, you're on point with the Second Amendment and the regulated militias, and I don't know. I don't have the solution for that, but I think you're absolutely right in pointing out that we're not even following it the way it's written. But back to his teacher, white supremacy podcast. So is it me? I think I've said this before, but have you guys noticed, Jason, I'm asking you, with the current political climate, that people are more willing and less scared to come out about, their, whether it's racism or sexism or anything like that, whatever they have reservations about?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, we can debate whether or not this particular administration itself is racist. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like some of the messages and some of the attitudes that are taken by it do allow and do make it conducive for certain people who believe certain things to come out and feel comfortable about it. You know what I mean? So, but then again, it's hard for me because growing up in Florida, I feel like this is everyday life. You know what I'm saying? This is things that I've seen. Not so much when I was in Miami, but when I came to Tampa, you know what I'm saying? I saw a lot of that growing up. But I think on a wider scale, though, nationally, yes, I do feel like with the political climate, it is making it a lot easier for people to come out and feel comfortable with it, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've definitely seen start to boil over. And I don't know what the genesis of it is. I don't know if everyone was, if it's something that people slowly started feeling that way during the Obama administration, when there was a lot of right-wing news sources that were kind of pushing an agenda that kind of, everything bad. He's a Kenyan, he's Muslim, all this craziness. And then it just kind of culminated with the election and who we got now. And I guess, there was a t-shirt that I saw that said, make racist ashamed again. Yeah. Like, Make America Great Again. And I kind of love that. And I feel that, I don't know what it is. It does feel like people are more ballsy. And I don't think there is as many people that are like that, but I feel like the ones that there are far more ballsy nowadays.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. And
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say one thing that I would also point out is that I feel like when it comes to this topic, you have a small percentage of people who are racist and who are bigots and stuff like that, right? Then you have the majority of us who are actually good people. Then you have the politicians or whatever, the networks, whoever, who push a certain agenda to separate us. And then, that creates this small pocket of people to come out. And then it just creates normal people like us to just go crazy and just fight amongst each other when, what I'm saying, we're not realizing it's the powers that be, first of all, that is separating us, whatever. And who cares about the small amount of people over here who are just idiots? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It just bothers me that, I don't know, we have these outside influences that are just like separating us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Like, that smaller group somehow manages to be louder. Us normal people are just angry that smaller group exists, and there's this bigger group, or not bigger group, but this, manipulator that is using that anger in the normal people to divide the normal people, to make them choose when they, they don't have to. They weren't super racist a minute ago.
Right.
And Zofo was asking about the name of the podcast. It was Unapologetic. She went under the name Tiana Dalikov. It wasn't if it's all white, it's all right, as you thought, but it's just as bad with unapologetic.
Yeah, it's what's funny is the irony that she's Russian, given what's going on with everything now with the in the Trump administration, as far as seeing if there was any collusion. So we're off to a great start, huh, Jason? Man, like we're hitting all the topics you expected to chat about on here. But you know what? We're gonna lighten it up a little bit. How about a little bit of statutory rape, huh?
Jeez.
So a former Florida middle school teacher accused of having sex with a 14-year-old student, as well as supplying.
That's too many Florida stories.
Yeah, I know, right? A former Florida middle school student is accused of having sex with a 14-year-old student or teacher having with a student as well as supplying him with marijuana, was released from jail on Thursday night after having her bond reduced as it emerged that she is divorcing her husband. God, I can't talk. Stephanie Peterson Ferry, 26, was led into a Daytona Beach courtroom dressed in an orange jail garb with handcuffs restraining her wrist for her initial court appearance. I don't care about what she was wearing when she went in there. I care that she was given a reduced bond. So I don't know if we have a picture of her on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't have the.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I have the jail one.
The jail one. Okay, so the jail one is one, and then there's another one that is of her fishing, and she's attractive. She's a very attractive woman, but we need to jump into this because that has nothing to do with the fact about what happened. So she can be, Beyonce beautiful, but if you sleep with a 14-year-old boy, that is statutory rape, which leads me to the question that we all know the answer to. Is there a double standard when it comes to women teachers who sleep with their male students and male teachers who sleep with their female students? Jason.
Okay. So I don't think there should be a double standard. I think it is what it is. It's statutory rape regardless. You know what I mean? Of course, me being the type of person who feels compassionate towards little girls and stuff like that, I would feel more anger. But what we have to realize is that young boys have psychological issues too at that young age. You know what I'm saying? Like, we hear the stories all the time about young boys who get treated a certain way when they're that age and then turn out to do certain things, either be more promiscuous or whatever when they get older. So we need to realize that just because they're boys doesn't mean that they can't be psychologically affected by that. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I like the way you put it, and it further makes me feel terrible about myself because I felt the double standard hit me when I saw the post. And I think a lot of men think this too. Like, oh, why wasn't that, something that was around when I was in high school or whatever? Like, where were these teachers when I was in high school? And it's a terrible feeling. But it's like you said, it's a double standard. It's just insane. Like, when I see a male taking advantage of a younger girl, and I don't know if it's because I have a daughter or I actually know, because if I see a male take advantage of a younger male too, like a student, you're like, that person is automatically labeled disgusting and like, all the terrible words in the dictionary for him. But when you see, oh, it's a woman as a teacher, and the student is and the student was male or younger, the first thing you do is like, well, what did the teacher look like? And that's like not how we should be thinking.
It's not. And, when this article first came out, Danny, I was texting back and forth with you and Cordero, and that was the thing I said is like, I feel bad because I see the double standard myself. I see that I'm part of the problem when this picture comes up, and I'm like, but it's a 14-year-old kid. And someone in the it was the Tin Man actually made a great point. Oh, hell yes, it is, which is a quote from Joe Rogan. I'm not the biggest Joe Rogan fan, but when, on that particular statement that he had about what was going on with this, and in past situations where there have been attractive female teachers that have slept with their students, it's always sort of had that double standard that people were, saying, oh, fist bump the boy, fucking,
high five, like Zophie
high
said.
Five. Yeah. But yeah, there's certainly a double standard.
Yeah, while not considering the fact that there is a victim of sexual assault, like Zophie said. Yeah.
I'm glad you actually said that, because that was the point I was trying to get to. Was it's a 14-year-old kid. Now try to think of yourself at 14 years old. There's a certain sort of growth that a kid, male or female, actually in this case of young men, even more so, because mentally we develop slower than women. There's I think a 2 or 3 year difference as far as like how a young woman acts as far as adult wise versus a young man. So for a 14-year-old boy to have go through this, there's going to be something there that is being tweaked, even if we don't look at it in that sort of way.
Absolutely.
So let's see if we can start finding some stuff that is just a little bit more.
Let's turn this ship around.
Well, we're going to try to. So we knew that the teachers were tripping, but you know who also is tripping? It turns out these kids are still tripping. So a teen drawn to ISIS brought a homemade bomb to a Utah school. It was a student from Southern Utah High. He was charged with bringing a homemade bomb to a school that was discovered in a backpack emitting smoke and prompted an evacuation, police said. The boy was arrested Monday after Pine View High School in the city of St. George was evacuated 2 hours that afternoon while the FBI and bomb squad investigated. Authorities said additional charges are also pending against the teen as a suspect in the raising of the... Authorities said that he's also behind a student raising the Islamic State flag at another high school. So he's also a suspect there. Yeah. So one question is, what do you think if this kid is found guilty on both these charges and say it was intended to have this bomb do major damage, what do you think the repercussions would be? And then I have a follow-up question concerning something else. Go ahead. I got to start with Jason, I guess, unfortunately, because you're getting throwing all these fucking curveballs. Let's see if you can hit. So
one curveball I have to throw at you guys is my connectivity keeps cutting in and out. Freaking Spectrum is playing hater on me right now.
We know plenty about Spectrum.
So I kind of connected back to you halfway through that story, so I apologize.
Oh, okay. So there was a student in Utah who brought a bomb to school. It didn't explode, but it was smoking. In that same school district, there was another school where a student raised an Islamic State flag. Mm-hmm. He took down the American flag and raised an Islamic State flag. This kid that did this, he's a suspect in both. One they know, and the other one he's a suspect. What do you think the repercussions for this child should be if it is found that he was trying to hurt people on a mass scale?
Oh, so he was a suspect in the bomb smoke situation?
Well, no, the bomb smoke, they actually got him for that one.
Oh,
but he's a suspect in raising the Islamic State flag.
I mean, if he legit brought a bomb to school, then I mean, whatever the repercussions, you gone, homie.
Like, do
right?
Okay, so I guess my question, to be a little bit more specific, is at what point do we still say these still are children and they have the right to overcome their wrongs?
I mean, okay, let me say this. I do think that no matter the offense, not no matter the offense, but most offenses, you do have the right to overcome them, like you said, and kind of right your wrongs, especially at that age. And I think, I mean, definitely, I don't know if I would feel comfortable. I almost like, yeah, he probably should get kicked out of the school, but I don't think he should get punished to the point where you can't
redeem yourself,
basically. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like,
so no life in prison.
Nah. I don't really believe in throwing kids in prison for life unless it's, I don't know. There's very few offenses that I can think of that I would want a kid to go to jail for life for. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Now, does this change it? Because in the article, it does say, based on our investigations, we can confirm this was a failed attempt to detonate a homemade explosive at the school. It was also determined the male had been researching information expressing interest in ISIS and promoting the organization. To follow up on, someone in the chat said that he was probably radicalized from the internet. So yeah, he had an intent to hurt people. Does he still deserve redemption? In the society's community.
See, my thing is, I'm always the type of person that sits back and asks why. You know what I mean? Like, especially at that young age when you're that impressionable, what were you influenced by? You know what I mean? I think we would need to focus on what he was watching, who was raising him, who was teaching him all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? And like focus on that and try to right that wrong, you know what I'm saying, while he's still young. I mean, yes, he needs to be punished. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he was trying to hurt people. So yeah, as much as we can punish him in a reasonable manner, punish him. But again, give him a chance to right that wrong while he's still young and, correct his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree. The follow-up thing that I want to talk about this, and I'm going to point out.
Let me just say hi to Wicked Kinder real quick. What's up?
Yeah, what's up to Wicked Kinder? What's up to I Am Shantae? What's up to Cordero? Man, we'll see you next week. He points out that the ice I was eating was loud as fuck. Yes, that's true. So I think you make a great point, Jason, about how we need to try to rehabilitate these kids before we just completely throw them away. It's a very touchy subject, especially in the environment that we're in nowadays and sort of the political climate that we're in. But I would have to agree. The sort of follow-up question I have to this, right? It's not really about
Team Spock, our newest Inquisitor. Thanks for following, man.
Following. So earlier today, Danny, you'll remember that on Twitter, I popped up on there and somebody shared this article. They shared an NBC article of this story, and they said, "Why isn't the media talking about this?" To which I responded, "You can't say the media isn't talking about something when you just shared an article that the media wrote about that topic." So I know that's kind of a confusing thing to say. So, and now I got to be honest, I've lost the point that I was going to there.
Besides that, it's absolutely hilarious.
It's absolutely hilarious. I guess are people on Twitter as dumb as we fucking think? Because apparently, I've lost my thought on that one. So,
I can follow it through.
Whatever you got.
So Jason, I don't know how you use social media. Personally, I've spent a little time looking at your Instagram and how you use it for the work you do. But when you see someone share something that you don't agree with politically or anything in society, do you?
Just real quick. Thanks, Zufu, for jumping in. Hopefully you'll come back a little bit later. And thanks for everything.
Yeah.
And he says, "Nice to meet you, Jinx." Zufu says, "Nice to meet you."
Nice to meet you, Sue.
So the moment they post something you don't agree with, do you, or let me reverse that actually. You post something and you have a friend that doesn't agree with what you post, and he comes to you and says, calls you out on it, whether it's hypocritical or, he has a different opinion. Do you in turn just block him? Or do you try to have a conversation?
No, I'm a very diplomatic person, man. So I think in anything in life, I try to talk to people and understand their points of view. Like, I never just block somebody. But then again, I really don't get into much political or social debates online anymore. Like, there was a good time 4 or 5 years ago where I was going ham just like every day. And I think I just got so jaded with the whole thing. And I realized that, especially in social media, you're not going to change anybody's mind or what they eat. And they're just going to fight on social media and then go beat. So I try to send a message of straight positivity as much as I can. And just hopefully that will, in turn, influence people to just do the right thing.
Right. Because that's what I was pointing out in it. I think I tweeted at your, at ourselves, I guess, but it said, Exhibit A, how you create a echo chamber and only hear your own opinion. When you block the people that are different from yourself.
Danny?
Did you catch me? Uh-oh. I think our hangout was acting up for a second there.
Are we back on?
Yeah. I think you guys dropped for a second.
All right. So, I think we got through that one. We'll go ahead and move on to the next thing.
Let me look at the chat real quick here. It says, the problem is so much of our justice system has been politicized with minimum sentencing such as jury. Just as a jury, your role is guilty, not guilty. It's tough. I do believe in jury nullification, though. It is guilty or not guilty, but I'll give you this. At least you're usually given like 3 different individual charges, and it's not like overall guilty and overall not guilty. You at least get to pick where their fault was based on the jury instruction and the individual charges. But I don't disagree. So,
I mean, that's sort of the area that you're at, the field that you're in,
Yeah.
right?
yes.
All right, so
indeed.
you kind of have the right sort of.
That doesn't make me right, though.
No. I mean, like you have a perspective that is respectable in the sense that you've you know it a little bit more than
Some
some other
experience,
people.
yeah. So we did lose Jason, and I'm sure he'll be calling Spectrum and jumping back on as soon as he can yell at him for whatever's going on.
Oh, we have all sorts of problems with Spectrum. I mean, from me to Cordero and now to Jinx. So
Hey, you made it back. No worries, man.
Yo, I dialed in on my phone. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, we're just gonna do that from now on because Spectrum is killing me right now.
yeah, no, wait. That's Spectrum is sort of a running joke on here because Cordero, whom you've probably seen in some other clips, he's our third man, and he has problems with Spectrum all the time. So he's always talks about how shit they are. And a matter of fact, as soon as you mentioned Spectrum, his comment was, Spectrum sucks ass or something like that.
Right.
Do we have visual for you?
Yeah, we see him.
Okay, all right. I don't see him on my end. So, yeah. So I think everyone was pretty much in agreement that there should be some repercussions, but he needs to be rehabilitated rather than thrown into the dumpster, is the way I like to put it. So we have tons of stuff to go here, but I think it's about time that maybe we formally really got to introduce everybody into the chat who Jinx is and what Jinx or Jason is all about. Now, I've known you for I don't know, man. We've probably known each other as acquaintances for about 8 years, maybe. Deep in the Tampa hip hop community. I think there's been several times where I was like, yeah, we should work on something, and then I never followed through because that's how I rolled. But I've always known you to be like, for lack of a better term, you were part of the conscious rap community within Tampa and really Florida as a whole. And you were also one of these artists that started working with live bands. You work with the name is eluding me right now, and I know Guam Massive. That's it. I apologize. We've done some shows with Guam Massive back in the day, about 2004, 2005. There was a band I produced. We used to do shows pretty often with Guam Massive, with tribal style at least. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your history. When did you get started? Was it when you first moved to Tampa, or did you kind of break into it a little bit down in Miami? And who were your influences?
No, I mean, I was definitely here in Tampa when I started. I moved from Miami to Tampa when I was in junior high school, so I wasn't quite old enough yet to really dive into music like that. I had a musical background always because I was in band. I played saxophone and all the other good stuff. So music was always in me. But it wasn't until I actually graduated from high school that I decided to become an MC and I actually start making beats. Me and my brother used to try to make our little tapes on our little karaoke machine and stuff like that, and old school, try to dub things on the two sides or whatever. But that was just for fun. And then I think a couple of years after high school is when I actually recorded my first demo and took it seriously. And I say seriously because that's going to Kinko's and printing out 100 copies of these fake covers and walking through Ebor and not really, I don't know. It was real corny, but but I would say that my first real breakout, you would say, with doing something solid was when I dropped New Growth, which is in 2010, I think it was.
Okay.
That's the album that had the single You and Heat Wave. And I don't know. So it's been over 10 years, man, that we've been pushing this.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I think just being someone who kind of loves the music scene in Tampa, that I can visualize sort of your growth in that sense. There was definitely a time where, there's layers in any hip hop community. And within those layers, you have the people in the top tier, which are the ones that, where everyone kind of strives to be. They're the ones that say, okay, that's someone who has made it from the area, for lack of a better way to say it. So for instance, in the sense of DJs, you had like Sandman. DJ Sandman is sort of like the pinnacle of what it means to be a DJ in Tampa. And then you have musically Tom G. Tom G was sort of the pinnacle of what it meant to be like a hip hop artist from Tampa, right?
Right.
And then there were some people that were sort of on that second line that were starting to make some noise. So I would say like we're probably getting a little bit too, as Danny says, inside baseball, but I'm using this reference for you and I. But like, for instance, an artist like H, who was really popular within the Tampa hip hop community, but less so within the like music community as a whole. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then there was that other level of artists like yourself who were super talented, but were going to those open mic nights that H was hosting and kind of getting your feet wet.
Right.
And I can remember seeing you kind of transitioning from that point up until about, I'd say, the 2010, 2011 timeframe, like you said, when you were starting to drop the music videos, you were doing more performances at Rock the Park. So what was it about the song You that really made you know that this was the turning point?
Man, that's a good question. I think when I made the beat, which shout out to Monica Delgado, she's the one that's on the song with me, whatever. She gave me a sample for it, and she's like, "Here, make the beat out of the sample." I was like, Psh, "I got this," and that's it right there. When you hear the song, it's an undeniable hit, and I think up until that point, I felt like I had made good music, but I felt like that was the first time that I made something that was undeniable and universal, and that nobody, no matter where you're from, no matter what type of genre hip hop you listen to, that you could not deny it. So I think at that point, because it was undeniable, I just knew that, okay, we got to take off from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we're watching in the background now some footage from Rock the Park, which I didn't know that this existed until I started doing some more research. And this is like, this is crazy. This is as good. And now it was a really dope music video. The actual one that you did for You. But I love this because of the aesthetics of it, with the skyline in the background and the fact that it's like they had the audio plugged into the camera, which made for better audio. From that point on, where was the? You gotta forgive me; it's a little hard for me to form a sentence with the music in the background.
Stop piping it at you. There you
go. So from that point, who was starting to reach out to you? Did it start to sort of reach out past the radius of the Tampa Bay area, and where you start reaching, where you're starting to get a little bit more calls from like DJs in Orlando or Jacksonville, Miami, Atlanta?
It's funny because yes, I started getting a lot more attention elsewhere, especially internationally, being that it's sort of a b-boy anthem, and being that the the sample, if people actually know the sample, it's a group called Can. They're actually, I think they're from Germany, I can't remember exactly, but there's someone for in Europe. And being that the b-boy culture is so strong overseas, I had a lot of people following me from Europe and from Germany and from overseas or whatever. And just whenever any DJ that came to the city and heard it, like shout out to ODS, because ODS was a huge platform for me to get that song out there.
He said when he says ODS, that's Old Dirty Sundays. It's an event in Ybor City in Tampa. For our non-Tampanian viewers.
Yeah. So they would just, be in their groove and they'd throw that song on and hand me the mic, and what I'm saying, like there'll be a special guest DJ who'll hear it that night, what I'm saying, and like be vibing with it. And so that was a good thing. Sandman showed a lot of love on 95.7, which gave it even more reach. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, that song definitely, again, being that it has such a universal appeal, it definitely did its job when it comes to reaching a mass audience. So for sure.
Very nice. Now, when was this video? Because we got some questions in the chat, trying to date this Rock the Park video. I was kind of going on what you said, which you said the You video came out in 2010. So I said about 2011-ish, like 2012 maybe. When was this video?
Man, Rock the Park, So the video definitely, I'm 99% sure it was 2010. So Rock the Park had to have been 2011-ish time frame. I have to go back and check for sure, but I think you're right, 2011.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
So Cordero can suck it. So the Tin Man. Okay, the Tin Man. We like to always reference the chat. The Tin Man asks if do we know Woody's on the waterfront in St. Pete? I will have to say no. I'm not familiar. Jason, familiar with Woody's on the waterfront?
Woody's on the waterfront? You said?
Yeah. Yes.
No.
No, neither am I.
I'm not familiar with that though.
Yeah, neither am I. So we're not familiar with that one. I'm sure it's awesome though, because over the years St. Pete's really evolved. Which is the next question. How is the scene locally and just as a whole evolved since you got into it? Not just your music, but in general.
I think it's evolved in a great way. Like, I don't know if people realize how good we have it here now. Like back when I first started, like this, it was very hard for an artist like myself to really get into an establishment and actually perform. You know what I mean? Like you had to jump on. Like I remember jumping on Full Moon Saloon. I don't know if you remember Full Moon Saloon in Ybor.
I used to. We did shows there all the time.
Yeah.
We were actually the first hip hop group or hip hop band to perform with Full Moon Saloon.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
But it's like you'd have to throw yourself in the mix of a regular club night. You know what I mean? Which was really awkward. Like we didn't have very many outlets and very many opportunities. Like you had your Orpheums, which is cool. Shout out to them, and places like that where you, like local artists like myself could go out and, you know, display their art. But I feel like now there's much more opportunity, whether people realize it or not. Whether it's a dope open mic, whether it's an art show, whether it's Rock the Park, whether it's even GMF. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of really cool opportunities for artists to actually, you know, not only perform, but just go out and just mingle with cool artists and creatives and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I like the scene right now. It's cool.
And getting your music out there as well has to be a huge difference because I don't know if Shane remembers, but I think way back, what would it be, 2002 or something like that, when I showed you the first mp3.com CD, like it was an actual press CD. And it was like, you know, Shane knew one person at that point that can get music on an actual CD. And now, obviously CDs are for the most part dead, but now it's about getting on Spotify, which I know you're on, but getting on these services, like did that improve your ability to get your name out there, even though, you know, it's not direct CD sales and whatnot?
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing. The ability to get your music out there is so much easier. Like I told you before, when I made my first demo, I'm out here on my computer one by one printing out CDs and going to Kinko's and printing out the covers, doing like that silliness I was doing. Where now it's just so easy, you know, to get your stuff out there. And the other cool thing, I don't know if you guys know this, but we have a really phenomenal distribution company called Symphonic out here in Tampa that you know, local artists like myself can just reach out to them and get their music on iTunes, on Tidal, on Spotify, stuff like that. So yeah, and that's cool. That's home base. You know what I'm saying? That's people that we see every day out in these events, you know, can reach out and touch them and ask them questions and ask for help. So I don't know. Tampa's growing, man, in a good way.
Very nice. So I want to talk quickly about, you know, for someone like myself, I never traveled out of the country until like 2012. That was the first time I ever left the country, and I went to the Middle East. That was the first place. You know, you think for some, you know, kid from the U.S., it would be the Caribbean, Canada, or like Mexico, right? And I went to Dubai. So I don't know where you've traveled, maybe outside of the Caribbean. But that first moment you got the call and they're like, hey, you want to go do a tour over in Europe? You want to go hit up Germany? What was your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, like, definitely it was mind blowing. Shout out to Dynasty. Shout out to Sandman and that whole crew, whatever. Like, I have to show much love because if it wasn't for Dynasty, you know what I'm saying, I wouldn't be able to have made that trip possible. But she's
actually over in Europe right now, isn't she?
Right. Yeah. So she invited me to go on tour with her or whatever. And again, when I think about like the things that I've been able to do just on this level of being an artist, whatever, it's mind blowing because that was just an opportunity of a lifetime. So when I got the opportunity to do it, it's like, at first I was like, damn, am I gonna be able to do this financially? Can I leave Tampa and, and still support myself, whatever, for a couple of weeks? And after talking to a couple of people, like, well, what are you thinking about? Like, go, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Who cares? Like, you only live once. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna get this opportunity, or you might get it again, but take that opportunity now while sitting right there in front of you, bro. So it was phenomenal, man. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. Just fucking do it.
Exactly.
I've been hearing that so much lately, and even our guest from last week, Dan Fraga, said the same thing. He's into music now too, and just dropped a song called Nike That, like just do it, Nike that shit. So same feedback you got was his words of wisdom. So one of the funny things that happened to me this week was on Facebook, I got a message from a friend of mine named West Fifth. And he, that's his stage name. But he sent me a track that we worked on together in 2004. So this is a 18-year-old song, right? Is that right? Yeah, 18 years old.
What year was it?
2004?
Sure.
Whatever. I don't know. It was a long time ago, right? If there was a kid born in 2004, he's in high school now, 14. Yeah, he's sleeping with his teacher.
Terrible.
So and I listened to this song. I sent it to Danny too because it was on YouTube, and I was like, this shit isn't bad. So my question for you is, have you went back and listened to any of your music from a decade ago or whatever the case, your earliest music? Have you listened to any of that recently and been like, you know what, it's not fucking bad? Or have you been like, that's what the fuck was I thinking?
Yes, a little bit of both.
Like, tell me about it.
So I've had people come up to me or send me stuff that I've done, decades ago, whatever, or years ago, whatever, and say, "Oh, this is dope. This is so dope." Blah blah. Remember this? I'm like, "Dope." I'm trying not to remember that. You know what I mean? So I've definitely had those moments, but I've definitely had moments where, particularly when it comes to my production, like I go back and listen to some old beats. And I'm like, wow, this is actually not bad. Like, I just didn't have the right drums at the time, or had the right synths or the right sample, or didn't really know how to cut the sample properly at that time. So I definitely have a pocket of or a stash of beats that I'm definitely needing to recreate, because it wasn't, I think I had the vision, but it just wasn't, I didn't have the right tools at the time.
All right. We're going to touch on that a little bit more, but we got a question from the chat for you. It says, it asks, this is from Wicked Kinder, who asks, what was your very first album that you bought?
The very first album that I bought was Farside Lab Cabin, California.
Wow. All right. Very nice.
And that's why I can say Jay Dilla changed my life, because he produced most of that. So yeah, Farside Lab Cabin.
Nice. Well, I guess we'll pass it. Danny, what about you? What was the first album that you bought?
I'm gonna go with full CD, because I did buy singles. The very first, I think, was a single, but first full album was Green Day, Dookie.
I think the first one for me was actually through I didn't buy it technically, but do you guys remember was a Columbia Music Group where you could like fill out a little card, you send it in?
Yes.
So I did that, and I got the first CDs I got were Warren G Regulators, Doggy Style, and I want to say LL Cool J Radio.
That was really close to mine, because I think after I bought the Green Day album, I'm like, oh, CDs are cool. I like music. And then somebody's like, Columbia House, you can just like, you get this thing, you pay like 99 cents per thing, and then you got to buy them, but they don't ever say anything. I don't even know how I did it. I was like, what would I be, like 11 or 12 years old, maybe 13. And so sure enough, I filled it out, sent it in, and I think I had Warren G on there. I think I had Doggy Style. I think I had a Bone Thugs album. I didn't have the LL Cool J album. And then I had 36 Chambers and Takal, Meth Man. Yeah.
Wow.
Right now, we both have like bad credit because of Columbia House.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I guess building on that question, though, what was maybe the first album that you didn't buy? Maybe you had a sibling or an older friend that played a lot of this album and kind of got you into that particular artist.
I remember one time my father came home from, I don't know if he went to a garage sale or something like that, but he came home with a stack of CDs. And one of them just happened to be KRS-One's Return of the Boom Bap, right? And at that time, I know all the hip hop purists are gonna kill me, but I didn't know who KRS-One was at the time. So
You got to start somewhere.
Because it was my father. What's that?
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So I threw it to the side because I'm like, this is a CD that my father's like buying. He doesn't know anything about hip hop, whatever. Then, years later, I went back to it. I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty dope. So, I don't know if that probably answers your question, but yeah.
Sorry, I just laughed a little bit, and it was at a comment from Spacey 1998. She says, "By older friend, do you mean like a teacher?" Which I can only assume is. What about you, Danny? Same question.
So we're talking about an album.
Yeah, music that you probably like a friend or someone got you into this music. Your Venezuelan mom who had just come over to New Orleans or whatever, or Miami. What hip hop album was your mom listening to?
Yeah. Well, there's two albums that I know for sure someone had it, I borrowed it, and then that's like what got me into it more. It was in, I don't remember what year it was. It's got to be around the time of Green Day Dookie when you start figuring out, oh, music's cool. I got to get more CDs. I only have one. The first one was Michael Jackson's Bad. Someone let me borrow that, or it was my dad's. I don't remember. So. And then for sure, I was borrowed Outkast's AT Aliens or At Aliens or however you say it.
AT Aliens.
Yeah, AT Aliens. Yeah. Someone let me borrow that, and I think that it was that album that made me go find out about Columbia House. Get that back.
So the funny thing is, like, the first thing for me that I ever got, like, musically, as far as I'll get to that in a second. The first like hip hop music that I actually would listen to all the time, and Cordero kind of like Dumb Questions 87, Cordero kind of put it in there. He says 2 Live Crew, and that's what it was for me. Like, right. So like some young ass kid, I was listening to a lot of 2 Live Crew. My sister had like all the tapes, you know, that and Beastie Boys. So it was like Beastie Boys and 2 Live Crew. And she would play like the tapes, just the most funky and like dirty ass music you could think of. And I'm
at the time it was like terrible.
yeah. So it was like 2 Live Crew, Poison Clan, a little bit later, like 69 Boys, 95 South, like Florida hip hop. And she listened to a lot of freestyle music too. The very first tape that I can ever remember getting, there's 2 of them. One of them was, I think my parents got from me, CNC Music Factory for Christmas. They actually got my brother like an MC Hammer tape. It was funny enough. And then I also had, I don't know if you guys remember, Jason, I'm not exactly sure how old you are. I know Danny and I are about the same age. When the first Ninja Turtles movie came out, Pizza Hut had a promotion with like a tape that was like the Ninja Turtles rapping and shit. Do you guys remember that?
I didn't know they did that.
I remember the Vanilla Ice Ninja rap song.
Yeah. So it was like that, but there was also supposed to be tracks where it was like Michelangelo dropping bars, son. So those are the 2 tapes that I had that kind of got me started. So it's just kind of funny. So Wicked Kinder says Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms. Is that country or is that? I'm not sure. And then he also mentioned something else there. And then Cordero said Bone Thugs and Harmony, Resurrection, and Genuine, 100%.
Dire Straits is a British rock band from London.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm not big into rock music like that. So anybody else in the chat, please let us know the first albums that you started listening to as a kid that kind of influenced your musical taste nowadays. So now we're going to talk a little bit about we're going to have a little producer segment here because a little quick history with Danny and I, Jason. We went to high school together. We rode the same bus, and we hated each other for a long time until we figured out that we both made music. And
to be clear, there was a reason why we didn't like each other.
Yeah, kids will be kids.
Because we like the same girl.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was funny. I'm like,
Listen,
she had weird taste.
No one won that. We both got ditched, so.
But yeah, so we were producing music for a while there. The programs that we started off with, actually, I did everything analog. So it was really a situation where we had a microphone hooked up to a CD burner, believe it or not, and we would track over a rewritable CD, right? And this was until Danny got me put onto Acid Pro and Fruity Loops, right? Uh-huh. So my question for you is, hold on a second, cut off for a second because of the comment here. Going back to why Danny and I dislike each other. Cordero says Shane lost, and that's why he has to go by his middle name. My first name is also Daniel, so he to put it into context there. He's saying that I lost, and that's why I go by Shane now instead of Danny. Moving on. Good comment. A little bit too inside jokish. What were the first tools of the trade? I'm talking about way back. Like, how did you first start making beats?
All right. So the very first thing I used, I don't even remember the name of the program, but I stopped using it because it was very generic and very lame. It was one of those programs where you just take like the pre-looped samples and the drums that are already, programmed and just match them together. I don't even remember what the name of the program was, but it was really lame. So then I found out about Fruity Loops or whatever, downloaded that to my mother's computer. And whenever she was asleep, I kind of snuck onto the computer in the living room and started making beats or whatever in the middle of the night. So there was Fruity Loops. But then I also found that I was still missing something, especially with the type of hip hop that I liked and listened to, whatever. So I bought the MPC 1000. So I used that, and I kind of switched back and forth between the MPC and Fruity Loops for several years.
All right. When was this? When did you first start making? When did you first start producing music?
So we're talking right after high school. So I'm about to show you my age.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe a couple years after high school, I'd say around 2002 till 2003 time frame is when I started producing.
All right. So that's actually right about the same area as Danny and I. So we're all the same here. Did you get into producing because you couldn't get original beats? Because I know that was the case for a lot of people that I worked with back then. Basically, especially at my high school, there just weren't any other producers or hip hop producers, right? So people were going on to not SoundCloud, but other sites like that. SoundClick, there you go. That's where they were getting all their beats. And that was until they found out I could do original stuff, which my first stuff was trash. If I played it for you, it was just the worst.
I think we're all guilty of that.
But is that the reason? What was the reason that you got into production? Was it just because you wanted to, or was it because you wanted to rap and you needed original beats? You tell me.
It was definitely because I wanted to rap, and it wasn't that I necessarily couldn't find any other producers. It's just that I knew I was talented enough to do it myself. So why would I pay so-and-so when I know I can do it myself?
Yeah.
I mean, I knew, because I had a musical background already. I was in band. I knew how to play an instrument. I knew how to read music. I already knew how to compose a song.
Man, you were way ahead of us.
So, like I said, it was just, why not just learn how to transition into hip hop and just do it myself?
Very nice. Well, you're talking about the musical background you had, and even being able to play live instruments. Have you ever incorporated some of those live instruments into your music?
Again, the instrument that I played was saxophone. And I feel like it's harder to incorporate that in, rather than, a guitar or bass or piano. But I have. As a matter of fact, in this last album, I did play a little 1 or 2 notes on a song, whatever. But I think I let too much time go by after high school before I picked it back up again to really say that I can play something and make it sound good on a track or whatever. So, but I think once I'm done with being a rapper, once I'm too old for that, I think I'm gonna pick up the saxophone and actually start playing that more. But yeah,
that's nice. You can become one of those like laid back jazz musicians that you just play in those dark bars, like where you just sit in the back, it's a little hazy and smoky, and you just making tips.
Exactly.
Retire.
Right.
Do you find that a lot of your music is influenced by your Caribbean roots?
Yeah, I would say so. You know, my mother used to always, when I told you before, like I get a lot of my influence culturally from my mother. She used to always play a lot of Bob Marley, a lot of Buju Banton, a lot of reggae artists or whatever. So I think musically, although it's not in a lot of my music, I try to incorporate some of it sometimes. I think culturally, though, Caribbean people are just really laid back people in general. You know, we think simplicity is, you know, the way of life, basically. And again, anybody that knows me just personally knows that's just how I am when in my everyday life, whatever. And I try to incorporate a lot of that in my music too. So, yeah, for sure.
Very nice. So tell us a little bit about your newest album. Actually, let's go in chronological order. So sure. The first album with was You, or what was the name of that full album? I'm sorry, you said it a minute ago.
No, that's no problem. It's called New Growth.
New Growth. Okay. So from there, the single on that one was You. Did you do several videos for that one, or did you wait until the next album before you dropped a new video?
No, I did a video for You, and I did a video for Heatwave.
Okay, Heatwave was the other one.
Yeah.
Did you find that the sort of the power that you had behind You had influenced Heatwave a little bit? Could you say that one was sort of more helpful in driving your career?
That's a good question. I would definitely say that You helped Heatwave become a thing. I think because of the quality of You, shout out to Omar, by the way, the director for that, Omar Sheikh. He did such a phenomenal job with that whoever I stepped to for the next video saw the quality work that was possible. So D Rich, who did Heatwave, another phenomenal videographer and photographer or whatever. I think, I don't know, I don't want to speak for him, but I almost feel like that, him seeing that, you know, I was a quality artist from that video allowed Heatwave to become a thing and make it become possible. So, but I wouldn't say either one of them were more powerful. They're both phenomenal videos in their own right. You know what I mean?
So how much do you think by simply having a music video helps you out as far as promoting your personal brand?
I mean, we're living in a very visual world. You know what I mean? Like, just that example, for instance, New Growth was out for not a very long time, but a pretty decent amount of time. And it wasn't until we dropped the video for Heatwave that people were like, wow, that's a dope song. I'm like, yeah, it was on the album that I dropped a few months ago. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just human nature. No, you know, no shade to anybody or whatever, but just humans, like, that's how we are. Like, when we see things, we could have heard it before, but when we see it and see it in a visual manner, we tend to appreciate it a lot more. So, and that's why I love nowadays with Instagram and all the social media platforms now, you can actually put things out there in a visual manner and make people appreciate it a lot more. So.
Very nice. Now, one of the things I noticed about your videos is that is it Omar that does most of the videos for you?
Nah, Omar, he just did You.
Okay.
He, I think, I want to say he's still in Tampa. I'm not sure exactly, but I just ran into him a few months ago when I dropped the new album, whatever. He's doing really amazing things, but a lot of amazing artists right now. So, but I just worked with him once. Jermaine Brown, I don't know if you know DJ SR.
Yeah, I know DJ from Shut It Down Squad.
Yeah, he's been doing my videos lately, like a lot of my videos. He did, I guess we'll talk about it later, but he's done a lot of my more recent videos lately. Nice.
So how much input do you have on how the video looks? Are you sitting down with them ahead of time? You're kind of storyboarding it out, or are you just like, man, I trust you. Go and do your thing.
I mean, I would say at this point, I give a good chunk of the creative direction. For you, again, I think we just kind of gave all the elements and then let Omar put it together. Heat Wave, same thing. We kind of said, oh, we want a pool party. We want this to happen in the middle of the video. We want this to happen at the end of it. And they put it together. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with all my videos. I think it is a collaboration of me and the director. I think I'm very hands-on with everything that I do, whether it's music or the visuals or whatever. Like, I try to be so hands-on because that's just how my mind works. I'm like a very creative person, I guess.
Yeah, and it represents your brand. It makes sense.
Yeah, and we're watching some of the videos are on the background of the screen right now, and just visually they're very good. You know, a lot of times when people come out with their first music videos, you can kind of see that they are a little bit they're amateur. But looking at the visuals on your videos, they're not only do they have a professional quality to them, but they're unique in their style.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what I try to preach to people. It's like quality over quantity. Like, I may not drop a video every single year or every month or whatever, but when I do drop, believe that it's going to be quality, because this is something that's going to last when I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is something that's going to represent me and my brand and what I stood for. So that's very important for me. I'm glad that you noticed that.
Yeah, no, it's like I'm watching the one which looks like I know that's Ybor City, and I'm thinking I could probably pick out the place if I needed to, but again, a little too inside baseball for some of our viewers that aren't from Tampa. But that's the fun part about it for me, you know, when I can watch some of these videos and I could see not only an artist that I know and respect doing, you know, good quality music with good quality videos, but also seeing the background and the city sort of be its own character within the music video as well.
Right.
Where was that one shot? Because it looks like a coffee shop I've been to before.
I can't see, but is that
Heat
the
Wave
video?
Yeah.
White?
Yeah.
So we transformed this bar. The bar is no longer there, but it was called JJ's Cafe. A couple of my homies used to bartend there, and they allowed us to use the bar for it, and we converted it into almost like a speakeasy type of deal.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cordero in the comments, he said he asked if it was the Jazz House, and that actually predates the Jazz House, right?
Yeah. This is Heat Wave was around 2011, 2012 time frame. So Jazz House wasn't around. Which, shout out to the Jazz House. Shout out to DJ Sandman. I love that place.
Definitely. So I do have a something I want to talk about. We might be jumping around a little bit, but I believe this was 2014, and the Tampa Bay Lightning were heading to the championship, or they're going to the Stanley Cup. So does Greg Wolf, third leg Greg, does he reach out to you, or how does that come about for you to do the anthem for the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Man, so again, remember when I said I'm so incredibly blessed to have the opportunities with the level of, that I'm at right now. Like, this is another example. I mean, essentially, Greg, was one of the people that reached out to me. My homie Kelly, she's actually responsible for a lot of the entertainment and everything that happens with the Lightning at that time period or whatever. So it was just, again, the perfect opportunity, because I just happened to know somebody who was connected and worked directly with the Lightning. I happen to know Greg, who's been so supportive since day one. And the Lightning just wanted to do something to reach out to the community in a different way. And so they came with the idea, and they reached out to me. So it was just a matter of just happening to know the right people at the right time, I guess.
So, and I feel like I'm taking away questions from Danny here, because
no.
I know you a little bit better.
I'm producing,
now that the video is in the background, I do have to ask this one. I think it's great because how many hockey teams had hip hop tracks for them? Now, you weren't the first. We need to be clear. There was Tom G actually had a Tampa Bay Lightning hip hop song, I think in around 2004 when they won the Stanley Cup.
Okay.
But you have the first one with like the full video and all that. But my question is, since you're really part of the these almost sound like slurs when I say like backpack rap and conscious rap, you know, like it's like kind of shitting on you. That's not what I mean to sound like.
Yeah.
But since you are from that boom bap community, right? The people that consider themselves to be hip hop purists, and for lack of a better way of putting it, did you get any like pushback, like somebody calling you a sellout for doing this type of track and over a Little John beat, no less?
No, I mean, if anything, I was giving myself pushback. At first, I was like, man, can I really do this? Like, I would ask certain people within that community, like, damn, how would you guys feel if I did that? And everyone's like, just do it, bro. Like, that's a great opportunity. So, and I think at the end of the day, people still saw me and my personality through it. So, yeah, I mean, again, if anything, it was myself kind of sort of doubting whether or not it was something that I was able to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like, but it turned out really great, man. And I can't thank Greg enough. I can't thank Kelly enough. I can't thank DJ Lesage and DJ Casper because they were also a part of that whole process too. So, yeah. Yeah,
no, as I'm watching it, there's actually, you know, there's clips from Old Dirty Sundays in there. And it's just, it's a crazy mashup of bringing like a very tight-knit hip hop community to the face of a hockey team that is, you know, it's one of the most popular teams in the league,
right.
Especially since, you know, their streak of being one of the best teams.
Right.
So, damn it, I lost what I was going to ask because I had something I was going to. Oh, okay. So when you're writing the song, you have a lot of references to the players. I know that you're into the sports community, but be honest, did you have to kind of do some research when you're, you know, making sure you're checking off all the names and pronouncing them right of the hockey players for the Lightning?
Nah, man. Like, one thing you have to realize that I'm not going to do something unless it's authentic, and like I genuinely like the Lightning.
Okay.
And that year, like, when I was naming off all the players, like that was off the top of my head. Like, I didn't have to do all the research because I knew who these people were.
That's awesome.
And
it's cool.
And one of the things that I found funny is like when I was reading some of the comments, particularly from people from out of town, they would make comments like, you know, why are these hip hop cats doing this? What do you guys know about hockey? And I'm just sitting back like thinking like, little do you know, like I know everything about this team right now. Like, yeah, I don't know.
No, I get the thing about a newer team, especially a hockey team from Florida, it's going to get so much hate because we're not supposed to be good. We're not supposed to have fans. Right. And then you throw into the mix a sport that doesn't have many minority fans, or definitely doesn't have very many minority players. And I think that's maybe the benefit with the Tampa Bay Lightning is, since it is a new team, it came into a situation to where everybody was sort of on board from all backgrounds from the get-go for the most part, whereas a team from like you know, the Penguins or these old teams, they have a very old fan base that's a little bit more rigid. But if you go to a Tampa Bay Lightning game, you see people from everywhere.
Right.
If there was going to be a first like Puerto Rican night at an NHL game, it'll probably be for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So facts. That's I love that. So what's up, man? Oh, okay. Before I get to that one, did Orlando from Wild 94.1 also release a song that year, or was that later? He had Uptown Puck.
Yeah, that was that was either the same year or maybe the year after, because they allowed me to perform that song at the watch parties two years in a row. And I remember one of the years he released that song, but I can't remember which year it was, whether it was the first or the second year.
All right, so I was gonna say, if it was the same year, like, was there any beef? Like, what are you trying to do? Steal my thunder, man? You got your own radio station.
Nah, man. No, there wasn't no beef, man. Like, I actually met him at one of the release parties, and you know, we took a picture or whatever and chopped it up or whatever. But there was no beef, man. It was completely different vibe too, man. And either way, like I said, I had the support of the team. I had the support of Greg, everybody involved. So there was nothing that he could have done that would have taken away from my shine, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So I think both songs served the city right. You know what I mean? Like, it was cool.
Yeah. I was curious if there was any like fun banter. Did you ever talk to any of the players about the song?
Not one-on-one. From what I heard, just from, again, people that I know that were involved with the team, they heard the song. There were some, I guess, people affiliated with the team in certain meetings, and when they were talking about it, some of them were really excited about it, but I never got to meet any of them and say, like, oh, how did you feel about the song? But I heard, again, through the grapevine, that a lot of them really were digging it, so.
Very cool. So they are the #1 team this season, and they're planning on doing very well. Has Greg reached out to you about doing a 2018 version of the song?
We actually have 2 songs already recorded on deck that we never released.
Is that nothing that we can share? Can we do the exclusive?
No, I mean, I don't think it'll ever happen again. At least not anytime soon. Some of the personnel, some things have changed. You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's put it this way. I'll be grateful and happy if it happened. So if y'all are listening, I got songs ready for y'all. Holla at me. But I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. I'm just grateful that it happened in the first place. You know what I'm saying? But I haven't been reached out to recently, no.
Well, that's bullshit. We're gonna change that tonight on Twitch. I'll get Jeff Vinnick on the phone. Hey, we need a fucking get your best at the best. Beth, what I've just fucking did a Mike Tyson impression on accident. You have also been nominated for several Best of the Bay awards. Am I right?
Yeah. I had a Best of the Bay for Best Hip Hop Artist. I had a Best of the Bay for Best Hip Hop Group with One Massive. I think I've been nominated for a couple other things, but those are the 2 that I actually won.
Is there one that you're scared to say, which was you were nominated for like most attractive or something like that?
Listen, we're not gonna talk about that. Yes, one year during Valentine's Day, they had a lust list, and I was rated Tampa's most lustful man, or whatever you want to call it. It was, I don't know how it happened. I still think the editor was trying to play a joke on me, but whatever, I'll accept it.
Yeah. I just like that you're trying to hide from it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm a very humble dude. Whatever. Whatever.
I hear you.
I mean, those are great accolades. We talked. You got to do a tour in Europe. You got to do the theme song for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Spacey 1998 asks, "Do you have a girlfriend?"
No, I do not. I don't know. I try to keep that part very low key. I'm not saying that I don't date or anything like that. I definitely am very involved in that manner. It's just one thing, because I used to be the type that used to be like, oh, I'm dating somebody for 2 weeks. Let me put it on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, I definitely backed away from that because I just realized that it's just not the move, whatever. I probably won't talk too much. Yeah. To answer the question, officially, no, I don't.
Her follow-up question is, do you have a teacher?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
It's rough.
Welcome to Twitch, man. This is definitely a Twitch thing. So have you heard of Twitch before you got to do the show?
I have, but I've never actually never experienced it on this level.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. What I was trying to get at was you were able to, you had your breakout with where you started getting more notoriety. You got to do a tour in Europe. You were nominated and won a couple of Creative Loafing Best of the Bay awards. We were nominated once for our podcast and lost. Just putting that out there.
Yep.
And then, I mean, you were also the sexiest man alive in Tampa. So
I win that every night.
Yeah, all you're gonna do is pan around your phone, and there's gonna be like some trophy. It's just you like in the Superman pose. Which one of these things that happened to you do you really feel like, oh man, like this is the pinnacle, or I've made it, but you're like, can I top this?
Man, I think whenever I hear things like I remember I performed one time the song "Let It All Fly," one of my more popular songs, and I make mention of the moon on that song, whatever. And I got off stage, and this girl was like, "Man, in my culture, you know, we celebrate the moon so much, blah blah blah." And basically, she shed a tear because I was simply talking about the moon.
Wow.
And I think it's moments like that where I touch people. You know what I'm saying? Or when I get off stage and people are just so moved by what I said or how I presented myself, whatever. I think that is the pinnacle. You know what I mean? Like, no award could top that. No amount of money, no tour, nothing could top the feeling I give or that I'm able to give people. You know what I mean? When I'm performing or when I put out my music. So
that's awesome.
Very nice. What country was this?
This was here in Tampa, actually. When the girl cried. Yeah.
Where was she from?
That Crowbar Act.
Do you know? She was an Inhuman. She lived in Adelan.
I think she had a Native American background, but I can't remember exactly what tribe or what she was exactly. If we want to talk a really cool international story, I remember when I was in Germany, another really cool thing that happened was, I'm getting off stage or whatever, and some dude has my picture printed out and asking me, like, wow, you guys really appreciate music over here like that. Like, stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's just amazing to me. It's just mind-boggling. I don't know. That's
actually really cool. That would have blown my mind, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just thinking, like, here I am, just some regular dude in Tampa. But again, you never know the power of your reach or the power of your influence. So, I don't know. That's cool.
Do you have any plans coming up to maybe do some touring overseas?
I don't have anything solid. I mean, I always talk about it. That was one of my goals for 2018 was not only just to go overseas, but just get out of Tampa a little bit more. Sometimes it is a challenge, you know what I'm saying, with life. There's so many obligations that you have here at home that it's tough getting away, whatever. Mm-hmm. But to answer your question, nothing solid, but definitely I would love to again.
Very nice. If you couldn't get someone, let's say you couldn't get on a tour, would you ever try to fund that yourself, like maybe with some other artists?
Yeah, that's a thought. The thing about doing with other artists is just that's such an obligation financially that it would have to be the right situation with the right people that would be able to make that move. So I mean, not to sound selfish, but I think I would probably first try to do it for myself, because I know I would be able to. It was easier for me to make that obligation myself. But yeah, I mean, I would love to bring some of the homies and we just all gather together and go to Europe for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just would be a little bit of a challenge, but I mean, I would absolutely love that though.
You mentioned the 2018 goals. Do you have any other ones you want to share?
I think, I mean, from a personal standpoint, I've done a lot that, is kind of like the American dream type thing. Like I purchased my house a couple of years ago.
Nice.
I think definitely locking in a solid relationship, maybe start a family, maybe not necessarily this year, but just at least building the foundations for that would be cool.
So as a musician, do you feel like more apprehensive when you meet people, especially if you're meeting them through your music, as opposed to someone you meet that didn't maybe necessarily know that aspect of you?
Somebody's trying to say apprehensive about meeting people through the music, you mean? Or
yeah, like do they have the right intentions and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like my what's the word I'm looking for? Second guessing when I add people on Facebook when I know it's through music is like times 10. Like if I know you're trying to get at me because you're a rapper or you're a producer or you're a promoter or you're this or that, I don't know, bro. I have to give you like 10 looks before I can even, associate myself.
Yeah.
And I know it's bad to say, but there's so many shady people. There's so many people who don't really have the right intentions. So, I don't know. To answer your question, yes, there's a lot of apprehensive.
I imagine there is, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Danny actually had a question, and I think I'm going to bring it up since I can remember it right now.
So I forgot it.
Yeah. So, your stage name is Jinx. there seems to be quite a few other artists that have chosen that name. Do you find that it has kind of muddied the water for you? And do you ever wish that maybe you should have chosen something else so that you could have stood out a little bit more?
Every single time that I think about it, yes. I think about changing my name. Not only because of that, but because the word Jinx has such a negative connotation and my music is so positive. I mean, there's a reason behind the name, being that my name is Jason and my birthday is on the 13th. So that whole bad luck, you know, whatever. But honestly, every time that I talk about changing it, people are like, no, you're Jinx. All right, fam, I'm Jinx. I'm not changing.
Sorry for bringing it up.
Yeah. So it's definitely stuck with me to the point where I can't change it at this point.
So another question from Spacey, who I think might be your biggest fan from tonight's episode broadcast, is she is curious to know if you knock on wood a lot, which I would extrapolate to mean, are you, with a name like Jinx, are you superstitious?
Yes and no. It's funny, but did you say knock on wood? Because I didn't used to do that until a couple years ago. So funny story. I was at ODS, Old Dirty Sundays, and me and my homies were talking about, you know, broken bones or whatever. And I said, I've never broken a bone before in my life. Next day, broke my finger.
Oh, so isn't that the worst bone to break too?
Yes, it's the biggest bone in your body. So yeah, all day now. Nothing on wood.
Let's see. So let's touch on your new album a little bit, or what was the album you had? I should have had this written down, right? How fucking good of an interviewer am I? Following up on your other albums, what was your last album previous to Jason?
So previous to Jason, there was the Gemini.
Okay. And did you see any movement on the Gemini that kind of left off from where the previous album was? Did things get better for you? Did you see a progressive improvement, not only musically, like how you felt you did personally, like your quality, but also in the notoriety that you were getting?
I would say that yes and no, because one of my biggest singles, Let It All Fly, is on that album. And from Let It All Fly, like when I went to Europe, that was one of the songs that everybody loved. So it definitely gave me a lot more notoriety in that sense. But one of the things that I can admit to this day is that album is probably my third favorite of the three. Just because I feel like it was like an album that I put out because it was time. You know what I mean? Like rather than, all right, this is a good body of work. Not that it was a bad body of work. It was just something that I put out because it was time. But yeah, like I said, I think from the strength of Let It All Fly, at least, it definitely pushed the career and the brand forward a lot.
So when you're doing your album and you're putting it all together, are you saying, okay, I have 14 tracks I want to do, and you create 14 tracks and you're done? Or do you create 50 tracks and you say, I'm going to pick the 14 best?
I create 49 tracks. No, I definitely don't go into it with any type of structure. I mean, I think most true artists, you can't give them any kind of structure. You give them a canvas and they just go at it, and whenever something's created, you know what I'm saying, whenever something's dope that's created, it's just created. But I just make music, and then when I feel like I have a good collective of music that's cohesive and that has a good flow, then I'm like, okay, this is where we're going. Let's put this all together now and put the final touches to it. So, and that's what happened with this latest project. I mean, I don't want to jump into that if you're not ready for that, but
we'll get to it, definitely. I think I'm doing a bad job at jumping around because as I go, I'm like, oh, but I also want to ask you this, and that kind of leads into my next question, which almost goes back into production, but it could just be, you know, making a new track in general. Has there ever been any like odd musical genre that you had been listening to offhand that sort of triggered something in you, and you're like, I want to make something because I heard this?
That's a good question.
We're all about tough questions here.
Yeah. And speaking of which, rape, that's a thing.
I mean, odd musical genres. I mean, Other than hip hop, I mean, I get a lot of my influence from a lot of soul and funk and stuff like that. That's a good question.
We can come back to it.
Yeah.
We'll sketch it down, but we can move on to how you were talking about getting a lot of influence from soul and funk. You are one of the few hip hop artists, especially on a smaller scale, that uses or has worked with a live band, right? And this is tribal style, the whole Guan Massive clique. What was it like as a transitional piece for you to start working with a live band?
At first, I wouldn't even say it was a challenge. I felt like it was like a really great experience, that going from just rocking with a DJ to rocking with a band. I think the flow of the show, the flow of the performance is a lot different. You definitely have, I feel like you have more control over it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it definitely amplifies the performance a lot too when you're rocking with the band. So I think if anything, transitioning from just rocking with a DJ to starting out to rocking with the band, I think at that time I was more excited about the opportunity than anything, because it felt so great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, like I said, I've worked with live bands and hip hop artists before, which kind of leads into another question I have. One of the dreams I always sort of had was to produce a full album with a hip hop artist, with like music that I produced digitally, but translated to live instruments. Now that you sort of have that ability to work with like phenomenal musicians in tribal style and the Guan Massive clique, have you ever considered doing an entire album of work that you've produced digitally, but then transferred it to a live sound?
Yeah, we've done a little bit of that in my previous albums, like Mugabe 10, who's in Guan Massive. He's played some of the bass lines and stuff like that, and we've incorporated maybe some horns, some guitars. But as far as translating an entire piece, we're working on that actually as a collective, Guan Massive. So our album, we already have like a handful of tracks where me, Rudy, Kino Sabi, like all the producers in the group come together and put these beats together, and the band will replay it. And that's pretty much going to be the concept and the backbone of the Guan Massive album. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's coming up soon.
With a collective of people that big, where do you go to rehearse? Does somebody have a house that's big enough, or do you, like, sometimes, there would be like warehouses over in St. Pete that people would convert into studios, and we would go over there. Right. What about you?
Yeah, we have a couple of locations. We call them the Guan Caves, the Guan Mansions, whatever. We got a couple of places that we rock at. My homie Rudy, he has a studio. Mugabe 10, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, we got a couple of places at people's houses that we rock at. Fortunately, we don't have to like rent out a warehouse or anything like that.
All right. Now the next question I have is, you are a phenomenal producer, and I'm not just saying that to gas you up. I've, especially some of this stuff I heard from the new album, in particular the track Deja Vu. I listened to that like 3 times in a row. I was just like, fuck, that shit is on point. Do you find yourself helping out aspiring producers or MCs, and what is it that you kind of teach them as a starting point? Yeah,
and if I may, that's one of the few songs I did not produce.
Oh shit! But I mean, that one I just picked out. I singled out in general, but I'm not gassing you up when I say that the entire album is from production standpoint, it's great. That one stuck out to me a little bit because I don't think I was expecting to hear the 808s that much on your album, and that one just had a drop in it. So
yeah, and
who produced that one out of curiosity?
Yeah, OP Super. I don't know if you know OP.
Not familiar, but yeah, I'm sorry.
That was one of the reasons. No, that's great. That was one of the reasons why I reached out to other producers, because I wanted sounds and things to be sonically different than what people usually hear from Jinx. Yeah, that's one of my favorite tracks too. As far as like reaching out to aspiring producers and stuff like that, I've had opportunities to connect with other people, and I don't know. That's one of the things I eventually want to get to, but it's hard because you want to dedicate so much time to yourself and all the other things that you have in life that it's hard to really devote so much time to other people in their craft or whatever. But it's definitely something I'm passionate about. And in fact, when I'm done, I'll say when I'm done, I'm never going to be really done fully, but like I think once I get to a point where I feel comfortable enough with the collective of music that I have that I can start devoting my time to others, I think that's definitely one of the things I aspire to do, is help people with their craft too. So
very nice, very nice.
And teaching is the best way to improve your own skill anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go ahead and talk about I Am Ja's Son. So just tell me a little bit about the background and how you came to this. When you finally said to yourself, okay, it's time to do album number 3.
Okay, and if I may, I'm just gonna try to join back on my laptop because my battery's dying on my phone.
Yeah. Well, while you do that, we'll maybe play a little.
Yeah, we'll play a video. I'm gonna grab some water actually.
Let's see if we can. Hey, look at that.
I'm back on, am I?
Yeah, you're good.
Word.
Just gotta turn your phone off.
Oh, shoot. How do I stop this?
Kill the app.
All right, I think we're golden now.
Yeah, here, I'll just in case kick it out. We'll just kick it out just in case.
All right, should I wait to answer the question?
No, you can start it. He'll just have to catch up on it when he gets back.
Oh, okay. But nah, man. Yeah, what was the question? It was I Am Ja's Son and the inspiration behind that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, I Am Ja's Son. It was a play on words. Like most of my albums are play on words. My name is Jason, and I always like the whole Ja's son, God's son thing or whatever. So that's where the title came from, and it's a storyline. So when you listen to it, it's about us being a society locked into a jungle, and whether it's physically or mentally. And I'm this character, this Lion King character, whatever, that's leading the people out of the jungle back into the natural. Oh, sorry, out of the zoo. My apologies, I said it backwards. Out of the zoo into their jungle, into their natural habitat. So it sounds really cheesy and really corny, but a lot of it is metaphoric, and a lot of the songs are not necessarily on that vibe necessarily. Like it's not that blatantly. I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but if you listen to it from front to back, the storyline, the way the song flow goes, it follows that storyline. But yeah, I just feel like with the time period that we're in the political and social climate that we're in, I just feel like it was very necessary to drop an album like that. So
yeah, I'm reading the track titles and I can see that progression. In a story. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I found so dope. That I find dope about albums. Like my favorite albums are very conceptual albums. So I wanted everything to flow in that manner, whether it was the narration, whether it was the track titles, just everything about it. You know what I mean? Does that answer your question, Shane?
Well, I got to be honest. I was getting water.
Well, you missed it.
I thought we were going on a little. We were going to play the new music video, and I ran off. I'm sorry. So, what I said. Yes.
I said school teachers influenced the album. And no, I'm just kidding.
It's a love album. It's about a teacher I had when I was 14.
Right.
It's called Go Hard or Go Home.
That is terrible.
Oh boy.
Yeah, good stuff. So have we played your newest music video, Heaven is Close, for everybody in the chat?
I have not. Right. I can.
So let's go ahead and play. This is also the single, the first single, and the first video from your album. Yes. It's called Heaven is Close. It's featuring, who's the gentleman who's singing the hook?
Ron Marks.
And it's also on Vivo. So shouts out to Vivo.
Yep.
Is getting on Vivo, is that anything like getting on Spotify? How does that work?
Yeah, like I said, we have a really great connect here, company called Symphonic Distribution. Again, they're the ones that really helped me with putting everything on Vivo, Tidal, pretty much any streaming platform that there is. I was able to get on there from Symphonic Distribution. So
awesome.
So,
Spacey.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just
gonna.
I guess I'll go first. I was just gonna ask for like the commentary on this music video, for example, because we can all watch a music video, and I'm sure I've been putting the links for the music videos in the chat as we go along. So they can check it out later, but you can give us the behind the scene commentary on this video, like the things that someone that watches on their own won't know about it.
Yeah, well, a lot of one of the dope things that happened behind the scenes, because the song is about, people hear Heaven is Close and they might think it's a religious song and stuff like that, but it's really a song that hopefully inspires people just to be great. And despite whatever circumstances they might have or whatever adversity they might have in their life. And one of the really cool things that we had the opportunity to do, we went to one of the parks downtown Tampa and actually had a chance to communicate and vibe with some of the homeless people downtown. Some of that got captured in the video. A lot of it didn't, but that was really inspiring. I had an opportunity to work with my niece, who's a phenomenal actress in her own right.
She's the one on the park bench?
Yeah, that's my niece.
Shouts out to Martin, who played a homeless man.
You caught that.
Yeah. He's to get a little off topic, he's a really good dude. I injured my hand a few years ago, and he was one of the people that would come and visit me in the hospital just to say what's up. So shouts out to Martin. Now, he in part of the video, when the guy that you're sitting next to, there are other people in the video who were legitimately homeless people that were in the park that you also spoke to. So he's playing one of those. He was actually someone that you had for the video, but there are other people that you really talked to. So
yeah, we weren't sure. Yeah, we weren't sure how interactive some of the homeless people were going to be. Out of respect, we just brought Martin with us just in case they didn't want to be on film. But thank God, some of them were down with it. So, the other funny thing is that my niece, in the video, you'll see that she's trying out for the basketball team, and it's like truly she was trying out for the basketball team in that week. So it all played
double duty.
Like, the whole video. Yeah, exactly. It was a great experience altogether. So
has your niece never come to you about helping her make music?
Nah, I don't think she's really into making music, but I think she needs to, because she has a really great personality, man. And I don't even know if she can sing. She probably can. But
they can teach you those things.
I need to get her. Yeah. Right. She's very talented. Very talented.
Was there anything?
I was just gonna ask about the homeless people. If you had any interesting stories, like everybody, I feel like is always wondering what's going on with that guy on the corner, and I assume those stories are the things that really touched you.
Yeah. Well, the guy that actually is in the video, you'll hear it when you watch it, when people watch it. But the guy said that he was from Mississippi or somewhere, along those lines, and I guess he jumped in the car with somebody randomly just to find work down here in Florida, and the guy just left him. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It was just really weird. But I've had a lot of interaction with homeless people just in general, because I used to volunteer with a group out down here, and we used to feed them or whatever. And just seeing some of these people who not look like me, but they're in the same age bracket as I am or whatever. And you just wonder, like, man, how did you get in a situation, man? Like, and you just hear their stories, and it's like, it could be just anything. Like, I lost my job and just never was able to recover. Yeah. And it just reminds you that it could be any one of us at the drop of a dime, bro.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to be jumping around here, but I need to ask this question because I'm pretty familiar with the part of Tampa that you're from. And it was the area that was sort of the epicenter for the recent serial killer that was over there, right?
Right.
This is definitely jumping all over the place, but if I don't bring it up now, I'll forget about it. Tell me what it's like to live in a neighborhood that has an active serial killer. Yeah, just tell me.
Well, I definitely was on edge for a while. If you know, there were 3 shootings. The last one was actually 2 lights away from my house.
Wow.
So I could literally step outside of my porch, you know, look a good distance away and see the block where the other person got shot. So there was a lot of, I leave my house 5:45 every morning. So there was a lot of, you know, looking back and forth when I'm leaving out at the house, whatever. If I'm coming out from hanging out, you know what I'm saying, late at night, there was a lot of, you know, just making sure you're good. Even though like I do that anyway, it was just a little bit more of it. Mm-hmm. This is a community that has a lot of people who ride their bikes a lot. So I had to cut back on riding my bike at night. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was just crazy, man. There was a lot of people on edge around that time.
I can only imagine. I got our other host, Cordero, the one that's on baby leave. He's also from a nearby neighborhood, and he was telling us the same thing. And I know that they ramped up the police presence out there. So was there ever a point where, with them ramping up the police presence in the neighborhood, is it sort of a double-edged sword where you're thinking, okay, that's good, maybe it'll stop this guy, but it's also like, well, you know, what if they think I match this profile?
I mean, I always felt that paranoia from walking in this neighborhood anyway. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I think Spectrum.
Yeah, Spectrum's like, nope, not going to talk about that. I'm sure Jason will be back on in just a bit. He'll call back in. So if you guys in the chat have any comments, questions, please submit
music
them to
production questions. You know, if you're interested in that.
Yeah, it's definitely the time. She says up at 5:45 every day. What else do you do? As soon as Jason gets back into the video, we will definitely ask him that, Spacey. I know it's a good time. If you guys want to hear this album, we've been putting the links into the chat. Jinx13.bandcamp.com. I suggest going to listen to it. It actually is very well produced, well put together album. It's something that you should definitely give a listen. And you know what? How about you throw a few dollars at my boy and buy the album as well? Because, you know, people still buy albums, right?
Yeah, well, it's a streaming and a download, so, you know, it's not that abnormal.
Very nice. Actually,
have it playing in the background here. I don't think he's back yet, no.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But I am playing the song.
Oh, okay, cool. So I don't hear it. So is it just you and I talking? Or are we muted?
No.
Are we talking over it?
We're live.
I don't hear the audio in my headphones. I just hear our conversation.
Here you go. Now you can hear it.
Cool.
I did the Deja Vu track that we're talking about.
They've been waiting for the king to say something, but I've been waiting for MCs to say something.
Good luck, Twitch, trying to mute us. You can't.
Not this time.
We have the rights.
What if we don't and they still mute us, but we got the dude on the show?
Yeah.
I built a reputation and I'm proud of it. City right behind me, probably never been more proud of it. Tampa, where you at? It ain't no stopping this. Jumping out of the booth, flying over Metropolis.
Send a message. Do you want to send a message just
when
to...
I'm flying through, I'm eyeing you. Step in the ring, I show you what lion do. Gotta run intimate cause they know I'm winning. Mama let me out the kitchen with the mission. Pockin' Biggie in my spirit reminiscing.
That's what we'll do. We will do the Be Right Back and let this track play for you guys.
Let me out the kitchen with a mission. Marcus Garvey in my spirit reminiscing. Purpose driven, how I'm living, 1 million. Pick up telephone, tell him I got a hit. Pick up microphone, I'm jamming on that beer. No Illuminati, don't believe in it. God is in my body, all I need is him. Once you know you got the power, then you see. You keep your third eye open for them fallacies. So keep your cause I'm only here for my family. They hold you on that paper when they take your soul. Been taken from my culture since that rock and roll. Intimidated by the God inside your soul. Fear inside they host it, they pull it after they lock and load. Gotta run into me cause they know I'm winning. Mama let me out the kitchen with permission. Marley in my spirit got me reminiscing. Purpose driven, how I'm living, 1 in a million. Gotta run into me cause they know I'm winning. Mama let me out the kitchen with a mission. Trayvon Martin in my spirit reminiscing. Tell you what I'm really gonna do when they reminisce over you. Deja vu. Tell you what I'm really gonna do when they reminisce over you. Deja vu. Tell you what I'm really gonna do when they reminisce over you. Deja vu. Tell you what I'm really gonna do when they reminisce over you. Deja vu.
The more and more his voice started to roar, the more his presence became evident. The legend of Ja's son grew faster by the day. Even the children of the zoo began to talk more and tell stories about this great warrior. A warrior that will one day help them rise out of the zoo and back into the jungle. This is the story of a champion.
Yeah. It's funny how these things happen. Yeah. Everything is everything, what up people and hello. Don't you like the way my beats got you shaking like jello? The flow is dirty and raw, you can call it portobello. Ever since a youth, I've been a really good fellow. My mind is always racing, although half the time I'm mellow. Grew up in the bird, but they feel me in the ghetto. Get to know me better and you feel like you can let go. Be yourself, liberation is really the best though. I be rocking loafers as much as I rock my retros. A6 is my favorite, but Adidas on they best though. Go to New York City and I'm hopping on the metro. Someone call up Diddy, tell him that I got the best flow. Ever since the Pac and Biggie thing, I've held my breath though. For an MC to finally come through and rep yo. Little did I know that if you dig a little deeper into the underground circuit, there are unlimited sleepers. So hip hop is alive, my apologies to Reaper. I promise it's not a lie, just listen to what's in your speakers. Once again it is on again, promise I won't prolong again. Long as the beat is bumping, I promise to drop a bomb on them.
I don't know if you believe it, but this is history in the making right now. And one day you will see it, cause we're gonna make it. Straight to the top, we gon' take it. Foot on the gas, we don't press no braking. This is the story of a champion.
Let's go. Who we are, number one. Let's go. Champions. Who we are, number one. Let's go.
This is the story of a champion.
Well, Bob looks like he has another ring under his belt, but I got another one to get. They telling me I need to hit it or quit. I tell them this is heat. If this not a hit, then I quit, cause this is history. Hop up in the car, I travel like a DeLorean. Even if I never travel to Europe to tour again. My story is deeper than most who ever thought to use a pen. Use the pen and paint a picture you hang up like ceiling fans. Sit back and admire it. Ask me if I'm happy, if I'm thinking about retiring. Too much deep inside of him. Too many thoughts to just stop and never drop another one. Too many topics to not participate in all of them. But what do you sing about when you look around and nobody's an MC now? They wanna sing, they want that daily melody. They wanna dance and celebrate and pop a pill and take a drink. Take a drink.
I don't know if you believe it, but this is history in the making right now. And one day you will see it, cause we're gonna make it. Straight to the top, we gon' take it. Foot on the gas, we don't press no braking. This is the story of a champion.
Let's go. Who we are, number one. Let's go. Champions. Who we are, Damn over. Yeah. Let's go. Let the beat go. Let it go. One time for my people. For my people. One time let the beat go. I'm back. One time for my people. Free your rhyme. One time let the beat go. Let it go. One time for my people. My champions. One time let the beat go. I let it go. One time for my people.
All right, we are back, guys.
Sorry about the delay there. You know, Spectrum can go suck a rectum.
Right.
So they
Something
got
we all have to deal with, whether we're in Texas or fucking Tampa
or Bahrain.
or Bahrain. I think Bahrain had better connection.
That's funny.
Yeah, so they got to listen to a few tracks from the album, and the comments were that it was dope, and that it sounds really good, and we're trying to push some people over there to throw a few dollars at you.
Word, I appreciate it.
Buy some of the album. Do you find it hard to get people to buy the album, given the sort of the era that we're in?
I think there are definitely more people streaming it than buying it for sure. So as I look at the sales numbers, it would reflect that fewer people are buying it. Mm-hmm. But I kind of knew that anyway going into it. You know what I mean? My objective was never to really sell a whole bunch of music anyway. It was really to get the message out there and get the music out there. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't bother me that people stream it more than they buy it.
Yeah. I mean, the industry has changed, and so do you have a label that is helping you distribute this at all, or are you doing it all on your own?
This is the label right here.
There you go. So you get the better deal, compared to people that are using a label, because when you stream, they get a cut, and then by the time it gets to you, it's pennies. So doing it. You're definitely doing it the right way in a changing world.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been saying this even before streaming. The whole idea of a label is becoming obsolete. It's been obsolete for some time.
Yes.
I mean, there are people who still can benefit from it, but I mean, there are people making six figures on music and have absolutely no connection or no ties to any type of label at all. So
yeah. I mean, the whole point of label was to help you distribute, market, and get it into the rare places, and now you can do that on your own with a little work.
Exactly. So I 100% agree.
Have you ever been inspired by a movie? Have you ever wanted to score a movie?
I mean,
yeah.
You see the Death Star behind me? Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely definitely Star Wars is I'm a big fan of course. I was a huge Back to the Future fan as well. So anything nerdy, I would love to be a part of, you know what I mean? Like, I was very moved and very inspired by the fact that Kendrick did a lot of the Black Panther movie. Yeah. I think something like that would have been so dope to do.
Did you get to hear any of the actual score from the Black Panther? I bought the album, not the soundtrack, but the score. And actually, was it you I was talking to on? It was on Facebook. It was a comment.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know if I can share an iTunes album with you, but it is nuts because it's full like John Williams orchestra. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the one that scored it, but it's a full orchestra. And then out of nowhere, you'll hear these hi-hats and then 808s drop. Mm-hmm. And it's nuts. And I don't know. We were talking about how you work with live instruments and a live band, and have you ever thought about reaching out to a local filmmaker to see if you could contribute to a soundtrack or a score?
I haven't, but it's funny that you say that because I do know some independent filmmakers. Jermaine Brown, the guy that's been directing a lot of my videos. He directed Heaven is Close. He's a filmmaker. My homie, remember Rhino from EST? Ralphie Sierra?
No, that was not ringing a bell.
Okay. Yeah, so Ralphie, he's actually in LA right now. He's another filmmaker. So I know a lot of really cool independent filmmakers that are doing some really great things. And Maybe I need to start doing that. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
We know what he's doing right after this.
I think you'll have a good time with that, and you should definitely listen to me.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good transitional point. We'll just one more time to let people know that Joss Sun is a new album, and that they need to go cop that shit ASAP. ASAP, because it is a good album, and
Link dropped in the chat for everybody.
Yes, and check out the music videos. So we want to talk about a little bit of entertainment talk, right? Because you are, I think, would you be a self-described nerd?
Yeah, I would be. Although some people have objected to that and said that I'm a dork, which I don't really understand the difference between a dork and a nerd, but whatever. I mean, I grew up definitely, typical kid in the 90s. I collected comic books, collected, cards and stuff like that, and watched all the, nerdy stuff, whatever. But I guess you can say so, yeah.
So first question, how many times have you seen Black Panther?
Twice, actually.
I'm at 2 times as well.
Yeah, and I would enjoy seeing it again, actually.
Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna go check it out one more time before Infinity War drops. Are you doing the whole MCU rewind, building up to the Infinity War, like our friend Keith is?
No, I don't have that much time in my hand, but I don't know. Maybe I should actually. That wouldn't be a bad idea. I think Keith was doing that because he hadn't seen a Marvel movie before, which
really?
It's kind of disrespectful. But that's not a bad idea. I think I might, if I find some time between now and Infinity War, I might actually at least watch a couple of flicks back and see.
Did you know that you were gonna have a laundry list of things to do after the show? So now you gotta watch MCU stuff, and then you have to call filmmakers and tell them you have to score stuff because some 2 dudes on a podcast told you had to do it.
Right, exactly. Thanks, man.
Hey, no problem, man. Well, you got 49 days until Infinity War comes out, and there's 17 MCU movies. So. Jeez. I think you got it. I've been doing it, but out of order. So, like the other day, I watched the Hulk movie, which I never realized I hadn't seen because I was getting mixed up with the 2003 Hulk movie.
Yeah, no. Edward Norton was pretty good, though. It's a shame.
It was decent. I thought it was pretty good. It was actually more dark than most MCU movies are. So there's that. So the Han Solo movie that's coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that they plagiarized the poster?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Who plagiarized it? So
the artist that did the poster for the Solo movie, the ones that are just like the white background that says Solo and the other characters, he ripped it off from an artist in France. I think Danny, you're going to try to pull up the images there.
I do. I have it up now.
Yeah, and it is a 100% ripoff. Down to the color scheme and pretty much everything. The only thing that seems to be changed in it was the header, like the word, and the people in the picture. But the color scheme and everything is the same. So I don't know if you can see it actually. I don't know if you have the feed going on or
no.
whatever.
Let me try to pull it up.
I'm trying to see what the original one is because I see. Let the official posters, work on this, but still pure simple. Sorry. Where is the alleged copy? I see the.
I'll send it to
in this gallery that I click 14 freaking pictures. Nope, that's not it.
It was a French designer.
I mean, I see the article, but I don't see. I see the French designer. Let's see. Nope, that's tagged. This is a very poor article.
Yeah, riveting show right here. Here, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, while you send that to me, how excited?
It's at the very top of the show notes.
How excited are you about Solo as a Star Wars fan?
Bro, I'm extremely excited. I've been really happy with some of the offshoot movies that have been happening. Like I liked Rogue One better than the episode 7, 8, whatever. Like Rogue One was the best one so far to me.
Okay.
I mean, like, and so I'm really excited to see this Han Solo movie. When I saw the poster for the first time, I totally flipped out, bro. Like, I didn't even know like how soon it was coming. And I saw the poster, I was like, wow, this is dope.
I'm in. I need it now.
Yeah, and the fact that Childish Gambino's in it, that's gonna be even crazier.
Donald Glover,
yeah, Donald Glover, yeah.
And we can jump around, actually. Speaking about Donald Glover, he is actually coming out with an animated Deadpool series on FXX.
Wow.
I just heard about that today. It's coming out in May, I believe. So it'll be an animated series. It's going to be like a rated R series.
I was totally asleep on Danny Glover. Like, when he first came out, I was like, oh, he's all right. Then I saw Atlanta, and Atlanta is phenomenal.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys watched that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the second season's coming up real soon.
It started already.
Oh, I'm so excited then. I don't watch TV like on TV. I just buy my episodes, so I don't know when stuff airs. I just have to like wait for something to tell me, hey, the new episode's out.
Yeah.
Did you watch him on Community, Donald Glover?
No, I didn't. But
Okay.
I heard it's dope though.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
So Cordero says that Atlanta's on right now, and he's probably not even watching the show. He's just messaging at this point. Just
Second episode. We're on mute. He's watching that.
So what were some of the comics that who were your favorite heroes growing up?
See, I always liked the weird, mysterious guys that didn't really get much shine. Like, I was a huge Gambit fan.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
How are you feeling about like this sort of off and on? There's going to be a Gambit film. There's not going to be a Gambit film. They can't get a director, et cetera, et cetera.
Dude, I've given up hope. You know what I mean? Like, at this point, I don't know, man. And like, a lot of people say, well, there's not enough character to build on and all this other stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, Gambit, you can go you can go extremely deep with that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And I think when you have dark characters like that who really don't have that, like, up front, like, in your face, this is a story, like, you can actually build on that. You know what I'm saying? That's a perfect opportunity to do so.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking at what was like the third highest grossing MCU movie was Guardians of the Galaxy. And
right.
Who knew of Guardians of the Galaxy before that movie dropped?
I didn't.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So I could definitely see them doing that. What I'm hearing is that Fox, despite being probably bought out by Disney within the next couple of years, they still have movies slated to open to shoot.
They are being bought though. That is set.
Yeah, that's done.
Well, I mean, that's what they say, but I mean, I'm talking about an article that I just read 2 days ago that says Comcast still has the opportunity to buy it out. So
does Comcast have more money than Disney?
They probably don't, but
Okay.
it's not set in stone. It still takes a couple of years. So there are people that are writers for Fox that are still writing movies, and they literally 2 days ago just announced that they are going to work on a Kitty Pryde movie by Brian Michael Bendis. They're going to work on a Silver Surfer movie and a Doctor Doom solo film.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're still out there. They're still shaking and moving. Now, obviously, if that does, and they also kept the Gambit movie on that list. So get back to Gambit, like you're saying.
How do you feel about Channing Tatum? His name is so hard to say. Playing him. Do you think he's a good Gambit? Okay, good.
I don't know if he's rough enough, man. Like, Gambit is just like, I don't know, man. Shout out to Channing though, 'cause he's from Tampa originally, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think he went to my high school. He went to Gaither.
I think he went to USF too. So.
Oh, word. But I don't know, man. I've been blown away before. I've said people are not a good fit, and they actually worked. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, for instance, when what's the dude that plays Deadpool? Right.
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. At first, I was like, I don't know, but then it worked. It was perfect. You know what I mean, like, I don't know.
Was it? Are you talking about was it perfect in the Wolverine movie or was it perfect in the Deadpool movie?
In the Deadpool movie.
Yeah, obviously. You know what's funny is about that was before he ever played Deadpool, a Deadpool comic said he looked like a burnt Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And the whole concept of Deadpool is, you know, is he insane or is he actually capable of breaking that fourth wall and knowing he's in a comic book? So it just makes this weird meta inside out, like confusing but awesome and conveniently, you know, storytelling.
Right.
Yeah. So it's funny that they made that reference. So we brought up the posters. Did you get to see the posters there from Solo and the France?
I did.
France?
I don't know if he was watching it, but yeah, it's for sure a straight copy. I mean, let's talk about it real quick here. I'm gonna bring it up again and put this.
I don't know if you got to see it, Jason. Did you?
I'm bringing it up.
I'm pulling it back up now.
Like
Okay.
usually my defense or my argument is like, all right, well, you know, there's only so many ways to cut out, you know, use words to cut out a character. It's not that abnormal. But the whole textured look, the exact color scheme used, I mean, like you could have at least moved the color dial and used different colors.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I see it now.
Yeah. So what do you think? Is this guy from France going to get paid? How much do you think he'll make from Disney?
Bro, he's getting paid.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know exactly how much, but that's gonna be a huge movie. And this dude, yeah, props to him because that is a straight ripoff, bro. Like,
There's no
Have you ever
defending
been in a
that.
situation where you've listened to somebody else's music or something and you're like, damn, that sounds a lot like something I did?
not necessarily. I think when I've used a sample that's pretty popular, like when I made "Let It All Fly," it's a James Brown sample, and like years after, it's funny. People will send me a song like, "Yo, isn't that your beat?" I'm like, "No, it's the same sample."
Yeah.
So stuff like that will happen, but
I remember
rip-offs
if I would take a sample, like I would just be so hesitant, just start destroying it, chopping it up, doing something to it. It's like, this has to sound different because I keep hearing the original thing, or I scrap it completely.
Yeah. Same thing. Like I typically when I sample, like there'll be these times where the loop is just so perfect that I don't want to destroy it. But 99% of the time when I do sample, I do a lot of chopping and variations to the sample, so you can't really hear the original.
Yeah.
But
it's crazy how
I like that Walking Dead shirt, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's actually a play on it. It's The Walking Dad.
Oh, clever. Look at that.
Look at that.
I like that.
Thanks. Are you still into The Walking Dead this season and everything?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm tuned in every Sunday, bro. Like,
all right, good.
I mean, I'm faithful because there was a time where I wanted to give up, but I'm back in it now.
Is it getting any better?
Yeah, I think right now the current season is really good. My argument is this show should have been on Netflix, like originally, so you didn't have to wait week to week, so you could binge it. Because if you were able to watch it like nonstop, you wouldn't have a problem with the pacing. Which is, I think, what happens with people. It's like, oh, nothing's happening. It's a little boring.
Right. And I think they kind of corrected that with this recent season with Negan and the whole war and everything like that. It's like. Yeah. The story doesn't necessarily need to progress, but at least there's some action happening. You know what I mean? Like, to keep people engaged.
Yes.
Yeah.
So going back to the MCU here, we all know, because we talked about this a little bit early last week when it was announced, but Infinity War was moved up a week to April 27th. This has caused sort of a shift in all movies in one way, shape, or form. And now Rampage, which is the new rock movie, based on the video game from the 80s, has also moved up. It was originally slated to be out 2 weeks before May the 4th when Infinity War came out. And now it's coming out 2 weeks before the 27th. This might save Rampage, but Danny, your movie that you're looking forward to, which is Ready Player One, is now wedged in between Rampage and Infinity War. How much does that suck?
I mean... I love Ready Player One, but there is just so many things that are setting up that movie for a huge failure for the people that never read the book. It's the only thing it has going for it is that it is a summer movie, and I think when you go watch a summer movie, just like the Rampage, just like the other rock movie that aired during the Super Bowl. I'm not watching that Skyline or Skyscraper or whatever. I'm not watching that for story. I'm just watching that for summer action. You know, like it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be fun. And that's, I think, the only thing saving Ready Player One is like it's gonna be fun. If you didn't read the book, you might not be as big of a fan, but it'll you like that music video you posted. It's gonna be a lot of remember the A-Team, you know, remember this video game.
Can we find that? Because that shit is hilarious every time I watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to link it to you again or whatever.
No, it's on our. We tweeted it out, right?
Yeah. I tweeted it. Yeah.
Cover for me, and I'll find it.
Definitely. So let's go ahead and talk about Infinity War, because this is what I'm so amped up about, Jason. So what's your excitement level for this movie? First question.
I think seeing the introduction of Black Panther and seeing how he'll be incorporated into all this, I think is going to be cool. Because the movie his independent movie was phenomenal. So I would just love to see how they incorporate this new character into the rest of the characters. I think will be what I'm excited about.
So I think, do you have any theories on where the last Infinity Stone is, the Soul Stone? Or is this something that you keep up with?
No, see, now you're getting way beyond my scope.
He's like, you're too nerdy, man. I can't do this.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, I figured, you know what I mean? No. So if you're keeping up with the Infinity War, so basically this is where Thanos finally comes to Earth and gathers all the Infinity Stones for the Gauntlet. So if you remember in past MCU movies, for instance, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, they had the Power Stone. And then in Doctor Strange, he had the Reality Stone. Right. There's a total of 6 stones, and all of them have been found except for the Soul Stone. And everyone had presumed that the Soul Stone was going to be in Black Panther, because that was his way of going to see his father in the.
Don't spoil it for me.
Well, no, this is in the trailer, so this doesn't spoil it for you. What do they call it? The plane, the Panther, whatever. So that was the theory, is that the Soul Stone was in Wakanda. The movie's been out for nearly a month now. It wasn't shown to be in Wakanda in the movie. So, but yes, if Thanos, the main villain from the Infinity War movie, gets all the Infinity Stones, he's essentially invincible. And if you've ever read the comics, he does crazy shit like throw moons. And it's going to be some stuff that you've actually never seen in a movie before, probably.
See, and now you're making me want to go back and actually watch some of these other movies. Like I haven't seen Doctor Strange.
Oh no, I would definitely suggest it. If you want to do that MCU rewind, I would definitely say do it. And now's the time, especially when you realize that literally all those movies are connecting and ramping up to
this movie.
Infinity War and Avengers 4, which is essentially Infinity War Part 2. It's definitely worth it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you're more of a Star Wars man than a MCU man?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say I am. So in general, I just enjoyed really cool things like that, whether it was comic books or just sci-fi. I wouldn't say that I really dove deep into anything 100% other than Star Wars. I mean, or Back to the Future. Again, those were my top 2 growing up.
All right. So, have you seen the Ready Player One trailer? Since you like Back to the Future and 90s geekery?
No, I haven't.
Okay. All right. You definitely need to watch that trailer, because there is the DeLorean in it. But the whole point of this, the short version of it was a book, and it got Steven Spielberg is making it into a movie. But the short version is they live in the future, and like everything slums. Like not only is it trailer parks, but there's like trailers on top of each other. And the only escape for people out of that crappy world is a virtual reality world that they all go into, and they can create their avatars and recreate things from pop culture in forever. I think it takes place in like 2050, so it's like near future. And so
Right.
like the main character, he loves Back to the Future and Ghostbusters, so he makes a DeLorean that has the Ghostbusters stuff on it. So it's like a mix of Back to the Future. But the whole point of it is like there's tons and tons of references to 90s cartoons, shows, like everything,
Yeah.
you know, that we grew up with is the way I put it. So this video I'm about to share, and you can just listen to it, is this kid that said, "Here's my rejected theme song that I made for the Ready Player One. And I think you'll enjoy it. This guy's going places with production style.
Remember King Kong? Remember Ferris Bueller? Remember War Games and Back to the Future? Remember Tomb Raider? Remember Weird Science? Remember Battletoads and the Iron Giant? Remember Star Wars and Transformers the movie? Remember Ghostbusters? Remember the Goonies? Remember when neon used to be trendy? Remember the Where's the Beef Lady from Wendy's? Remember Akira? That's from Japan. Remember Galaga and Mrs. Pac-Man? Remember Contra? Remember Street Fighter? Remember the A-Team? Remember Knight Rider? Remember The Simpsons seasons 1 through 9? Remember logging on to America Online? Remember Highlander and Highlander 2? Remember Star Trek? We certainly do.
This is so terrible. It's so good at the same time.
That's it.
Oh my god. So fun fact, and don't take my 80s babies card away, but I've never seen Goonies before.
Me neither.
I don't remember if I have either.
Me neither.
I think
Okay.
I think there's an era because a lot of people who were born in the 80s use the term 80s babies, right?
Right.
And this is something my dad kind of made clear to me. He's like, just because you were born in the 80s or whatever decade you were born in doesn't mean you are of that decade. You know what I mean?
Okay. Fair enough.
So basically what he was saying was even though we were born in the 80s, what we know about culture came from the 90s. Like our culture is more 90s than it is 80s.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I don't know about the Goonies. That was before my time.
Okay.
So you don't have to feel bad about that.
We all lost our geek card.
Now all the homies always get on my case. It's like, you don't know the Goonies? I'm like, nah, bro. Like,
It's like, nah, man,
sorry.
you were born in 1975. I was born in 1983. I don't know that shit.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Get your old Gen X ass out of here, or millennial, whatever. No, Gen X. I don't know.
Yeah, those Gen X's.
Yeah, those whatever. Rant. Let's see what else we got going on here. The Oscars. Not too excited about that. Was there anything about the Oscars that you watched or gave a shit about?
What's the Oscars?
Exactly.
Hasn't seen that either.
Exactly.
I watched like a few things, and there was something in there was like
oh, actually, didn't Get Out win for that one? Like,
yeah, Get Out did win. Yeah, I guess that's something we should have talked about. Get Out did win.
Yeah.
And there's actually a really, really cool picture because they had, Jordan Peele won, but there's a image of Keegan-Michael Key like in like the balcony, like standing up and cheering the moment that Jordan Peele won. So it's just like a really cool visual of like these two best friends cheering each other on. So
That's awesome.
I'm happy for them because that movie was phenomenal, man. Like the first time I watched it, I didn't really fully get it. And I watched it the second time. I'm like, this is so groundbreaking. This is so dope.
I'm so confused. I haven't seen it. I've seen the trailer, but I'm so confused because I see who made it, but then I'm being told it's a horror movie.
Yeah. He's a phenomenal writer, man. You need to check it out. Danny has a family, so he doesn't get to watch movies very often.
I do, but this is how I get to watch stuff. Everybody's asleep, and this is me in bed.
I would say definitely don't watch it for face value because I think that's what I watched it for. I thought it was just like a straight horror film. I was like, this is not scary. This is so predictable. This is dumb. But I rewatched it and watched it for its social commentary and stuff like that, and like all the undertones. I'm like, wow, this is so dope, bro. Like, so you definitely don't watch it for face value.
Yeah, I guess they say horror, but maybe more of a thriller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely good. So what's your most favorite movie that's come out recently?
I like Get Out. I liked Black Panther. Of course, we talked about that. God, there's been a lot of really great films. This is gonna sound really weird, but I really liked
Goonies.
Since I like The Great Showman. I don't know if you guys seen that or heard of that.
No. I watched the prequel Logan though.
No, but I went with somebody and she influenced me to go, and I was actually really impressed. Like I didn't know how talented this dude was. Like I just still know him as Logan. You know what I'm saying? Like Hugh Jackman. But this dude is really a dope singer. I mean, a dope Broadway actor. Like it was phenomenal to me. So I don't know. I'm into different things like that. Yeah,
no, that's good.
Cool. Well, that actually kind of leads into another question I wanted to ask you, since we're kind of rolling out of we're coming to the end of the show. But are there any other creative endeavors that you are trying to get into other than music?
Actually, I just bought a camera 2 weeks ago. Now that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Video or photo camera?
It does both, but I'm really into. I'm not saying I'm becoming a photographer by any means, but I just think that I see and do a lot of cool things. And I just want to capture those moments, and I think this with my phone anyway. I'm always like trying to take pictures, so I think getting into more visuals is something that I'm really into.
I think that's the curse of being a creative or an artist is like the moment you realize a person can make that, you're like, well, what if I did that? You know, like
right, exactly.
You know, at some point you're gonna be like, you know, I could print something on a shirt, or like maybe I can figure out how to embroider the shirt. Like, you know,
right.
I want to make it myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, I want to, you know, we got these new question everything tees. You know, the MDQ on air shit. Actually, these things came out real nice. So I'm just saying, if you guys are into them, we got them on deck. And if you have a hat that says Barcelona like I do, matches it perfectly.
Dope.
That's cool.
So yeah, I make shirts too. Oh wait, microphone's down here. All right, I'm back.
Yeah, maybe we'll figure out some sort of you know, giveaway or something like that for some goal or something like that. Off air talk. Figure it out.
Definitely. I'll give away one of these, and that way everybody else can join in. I think a whole point system. We're gonna give points to people who chat the most and all that. What do you think, Jason? How can we reward our inquisitors, as we call them?
I like the point system. I don't know. I'm fresh out of ideas. I think
I got one. How about this? Can I purchase a hard copy from you of your new album?
Yeah.
So that's what I'll do. I'll get a hard copy of your new album, and then I'll get 2 copies. I'll get one for myself, and then I will get one for somebody in the chat. So that will be the giveaway for this week. Will be a copy of Jinx's new album. So,
all right, I appreciate that.
No problem at all. So we'll determine who the winner this week is of Jinx's new album. I think I know who.
Hey.
Cordero doesn't count.
No, I think I'll just announce it. Spacey, you are going to be the lucky recipient. Because she's been the most active, and I think she's your biggest fan that joined the chat today. So Spacey 1998. We'll figure out a way to get that over to you without you thinking that we're trying to stalk you or anything like that.
Cordero's upset.
No problem. Thank you, Spacey. And if anybody wants to find me, freeyourrhyme.com is my website, and then Jinx813 on all social media platforms. Jinx813, freeyourrhyme.com.
Jinx813 going into the chat. Boom.
Yep.
And I would be honest with you, I always misspell rhyme. So was it
RH? Free your rhyme.
RHYME?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I had a good teacher.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure he was very nice.
Yeah, he was great. He had very soft hands.
Yeah, what we'll do is when we put this video out, we'll make sure that we drop in the description links to everything that you do, so people will find it in the future.
Word. I appreciate that.
So, what else do you have working on? This is your time to shine and let everybody know what's coming up and on the horizon for Jinx.
Well, we got a lot of things, like I said, this weekend. Again, we have Gasparilla Music Fest. So if you're in Tampa and you're seeing this or hearing this before the 10th and 11th of March, we're having Gasparilla Music Fest, and I'll be one of the hosts, one of the MCs, introducing a lot of the bands for the weekend. So you'll see me bouncing around from stage to stage. I'm also performing early in the morning on Saturday. They're doing a cycling class, which it's gonna be a little different, but it's for a good cause. We're actually raising money for some schools. So awesome. Gasparilla Music Fest, yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We'll be working on the second video for the I Am Johnson album. The second video is gonna be for a song called Story of a Champion. So I'll be working with Jermaine Brown on that one. So working on that video. Other than that, man, just trying to put together some more shows, man. Hopefully, if you guys like the music, reach out to me. You know what I'm saying? I would love to come visit your city and rock for y'all. So
it's awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, I would say, Jinx, thank you for coming on, man. I know we had a few technical difficulties, but it's been a lot of fun. You've been a great guest, and hopefully we'll get to see you on here soon. Yeah,
it's been a pleasure. I didn't think I was going to make it till 11 o'clock, but here I am.
I know, man.
I know, right?
Another trooper.
I know, man. Damn, like we thought guests were going to be tapping out within an hour, but you guys are hanging in for the whole show. So
yeah, it's been fun, man.
Awesome. Awesome. That is it for me, Danny boy. What you got?
That is it for me. Just a constant reminder that if you aren't already following, to be sure to follow. And if you're enjoying what you watch, you can always drop some bits. Use your Amazon Prime subscription to subscribe to our show, which will give you an ad-free experience if you have that. I know we had that. People have that in the past, and it'll support the show for mostly free. As we always do at the end. Let me hit our Twitter up. It's Twitter. .com /
my dumb question.
Yeah.
At my dumb question for everything.
Yeah, at my dumb question for everything. We've been a little more active. Focus. There we go. And yeah, you'll find us on there. We'll have to. We have a little bit of a schedule change. I guess we can announce that. I said I would know what next week's show would be. Thursday, I am not available, so we're gonna switch that up and do it either Wednesday or Friday. Probably Friday, but it may be Wednesday. We will put that on our Twitter, so be sure to check that out. I will be live once again, not tomorrow night because I have something going on, but Saturday night, and I'm gonna try to pull a daytime stream for Sunday, playing some games. The usual weekend thing that I like to do.
I gotta. This is gonna be your. You get a choice, Jinx, as the outro to tonight's show. You can choose a song from your new album that we can play on the outro, or we can do it like BET Big Ticket style. Like you could end the show with a freestyle.
I think playing a song at this point will be better.
Yeah. He's like, we've already drained him.
Let's run the joint that you like, the Deja Vu.
Okay.
Or did you already play that one?
We played Deja Vu during the break.
But we can play it again.
Oh.
It's up to you.
Yeah, that's fine. Or we can do Story of a Champion, the next video.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Story of a Champion.
We will outro with that, and if you guys don't mind hanging, not you guys in the video, guys in the chat, we're gonna host another streamer that always helps us out grow, and just say hi. Tell him you're an inquisitor from the My Dumb Questions channel, and you've been brought there. And I found someone here, someone new, just to change it up just a wee bit. But that'll be a big help to us. Besides that, let me get some tunes going for you guys, and we will catch you again real soon.
Peace.
The more and more his voice started to roar, the more his presence became evident. The legend of Jason grew faster by the day. Even the children of the zoo began to talk more and tell stories about this great warrior. A warrior that will one day help them rise out of the zoo and back into the jungle. This is the story of a champion.
Yeah. It's funny how these things happen. Yeah. Everything is everything. What up, people, and hello. Don't you like the way my beats got you shaking like jello? The flow is dirty and raw, you can call it portobello. Ever since a youth, I've been a really good fellow. My mind is always racing, although half the time I'm mellow. Grew up in the bird, but they feel me in the ghetto. Get to know me better and you feel like you can let go. Be yourself, liberation is really the best though. I be rocking loafers as much as I rock my retros. A6 is my favorite, but Adidas on they best though. Go to New York City and I'm hopping on the metro. Someone call up Diddy, tell him that I got the best flow. Ever since the Pac and Biggie thing, I've held my breath though. For an MC to finally come through and rep, yo. Little did I know that if you dig a little deeper into the underground circuit, there are unlimited sleepers. So hip-hop is alive, my apologies to Reaper. I promise it's not a lie, just listen to what's in your speakers. Once again, it is on again, promise I won't prolong again. Long as the beat is bumping, I promise to drop a bomb on them.
I don't know if you believe it, but this is history in the making right now. And one day you will see it, 'cause we're gonna make it. Straight to the top, we gon' take it. Foot on the gas, we don't press no braking. This is the story of